The beautiful mountains are so high that they reach almost the clouds. On one of the peaks of Mount Tai, the mysterious man rises with weight, relying on his stick. The guy broadcasts the medallion on the graveplate and, after a difficult path, exhaling falls to the ground. He talks about a man named Lian Song. He managed to fulfill only half of his promise given to him. The guy was visible for a long time, because deep cheekbones are visible on his cheeks. The guy continues to lie on the ground in his eyes. A beautiful butterfly flashes. He recalls the years when he was an emperor. Emperor Hunsu asks his grandson what he thinks about power. The boy considers power. These are flowers. The old man does not understand why his grandson thinks so. The boy took up his chin and thought about the answer. The boy thinks that if not flowers are power, because it does not matter commoners or noble people, they all gather throughout the capital and talk about them. Grandpa raises him in his hands and praises him for his insight. He tells Yunvan to remember, despite the fact that the flowers are bright and colorful, they can be tied as if they were not there. His grandfather died, he did not have a suitable heir, therefore handed over the throne to the guy. Uncle Yunvan tells him that the old man entrusted the fate of the empire for such insignificance. The man believes that such a garbage has no place on the throne. Yunwen does not understand and is afraid of his uncle. The man says everything has his own order and tells him to leave his throne. As a result, he made a bloody coup and many people died. Lian's sleep is enough Yunvan by the shoulder and says to go with him. Uncle shouts to his people to grab Yunvan and kill him. The Imperial Guard is trying to protect the young emperor. Master Lian Dream sent a guy from the palace secretly. He tells him about the top of the mysterious little peak of Mount Tai. Asks him to find a small stone monument and hang on him the emperor's token. 2 people who served grandfather Yunvan will help him. The guy is upset and tells Liana a dream that he was tired of continuing to live such a miserable life. The old man is angry and a cry tells him to recover. To survive this is the only way to fulfill the decree of Emperor Hunsu and honor his memory. Lian Sleep with tears in his eyes asks to promise that Yunwen will survive. The guy is still upset, but answers Liana that he understood. Yunwen rode off on a horse, and the old man in the back wished him good luck. He lies on earth and realized that the power was fleeting. If he's born again, he wants instead of a flower that can be tied at any time, be born a free butterfly. He thinks about Lin Sona and considers it all that he can do. An unknown old man stands above the candles and hits in a gold bell. He recalls the basis of the call of souls and binding of spirits stored in the secret storage of the cult of fire worshippers. He sits surrounded by candles and meditates. If the majestic heavenly emperor was not friendly from the very beginning, then the old man would not exist in this world. He asks Huibut about the readiness of the vessel. Huibut removed his epithelium and shaved the skeleton. He inserted the elephant bone under the nose cartilage and transplanted the remote epithelium back. The old man poured a dozen species of elixirs and toxic juices into him, melted his bones, and again rubbed his contour. Since he is already old, he has to constantly restore himself. But the old man, despite his age, does not have a single mistake in surgical work. Huibut tears the canvas, which was covered by Yun Wen, and tells the Fan No that the preparation of the vessel has been completed. They worked well. The heavenly emperor would also be delighted. Kavan No asks the heavenly demon whether he is ready to welcome his new life. The demon replies how he dares to wake him from sleep and bother him. The old man says that he wants to give him a new life, pointing to the vessel. The demon laughs from his words about a new life. He replies to the old man that he does not agree. Kavan Nok does not understand why, because he believed that the heavenly demon wants this. The heavenly demon does not want a person, because he lives an unsurpassed life. In hell, he was much more interesting, and in the human world he felt boredom and loneliness. He tells Huan Nobu that if they once again call him, he will kill them all. The old man in a panic asks him to wait. The Van Nohosh should come up with a secret plan if the heavenly demon returns now. All this will be in vain. He needs something to interest unsurpassed representatives of the demonic cult. Suddenly he cries that the heavenly demon is an idiot. The demon got angry and thinks Huan Nobu wanted his death. The old man points out to him, if he is really a heavenly demon, then he is an idiot, and is not so aware of in the world around him. Kavan Noka understands that he cannot be cowardly, because his life is in the balance. An extraordinary ascetic named Zhang Sanfan even exalted him as a more perfect than Dharma. The demon does not understand who is talking about who we are talking about. He never heard the name of this child. The people of their time say no matter how strong the heavenly demon, he will not stand in front of the sage Sanfan. The heavenly demon says who could say such nonsense. Huan Noku asks the demon that he knows about development, possibly a heavenly demon, and was the best at one time. But Murim's people improved martial arts every day. The current generation developed martial arts so much that it could not be compared with the past generation. The old man tells the demon he was bored because of the lack of worthy opponents, and now, when he appeared, let him become the strongest again, to become unsurpassed, and then and now, the demon became interested in his proposal. The demon asks how many years to the child whose body will serve as a vessel. The old man replies that the guy is 20 years old. The demon understands that this body can live at least another 100 years, and he will be able to prove his skill and the name of the heavenly demon. He tells Juan Nobu that when he happens to treat them, the old man timidly told him. Kavan Noku asks the demon to lie down, and he will begin the ritual. He asks Huiba to bring the pill of the soul of the demon, and he will take the rest. The old man puts a round tablet in his mouth, and many times pierces the body with needles to revive it. The master jumps up and grabs his head. The old people do not understand what is happening. He hears his voices, and his head hurts as if he would tear up now. He asks Juan Noka about his voice. The old man uses technology, but he does not tolerate good luck, and he can't help the master. Huibat asks Juan Nok what is happening here. Suddenly the master screams and says to shut up Hui, but he was scared. He thinks the master told him this. Juan No explains that the master says this is not to him, because right now the master is talking with the heavenly demon. It seems that the great fundamental principle has failed. The master asks the old man to do something with this. The Kavan. Nok tells the heavenly demon could not take full control over the master. The clash of consciousnesses is that which should not have happened, because if such a state may continue to collapse. Huino offers Huano to send a heavenly demon back, but Kavan knows only how to call him, but does not know how to send him back. They continue to argue. Suddenly the master screams, and a mystical aura comes from him. Juan no panic, he realized that the essence of the demon and the consciousness of the master were faced, because his behavior cannot be explained differently. But suddenly he had an idea. He says Hui, but he has another tablet of the demon's soul. In other words, they can again use the great foundations, and with the help of this, they will suppress the demonic nature of the heavenly demon. Hui but does not understand what he is going to suppress with the help of the pill of the demon's soul. Juan no thinks Hui but turned into a stone block. Otherwise, why does he not understand his plan? They will put into the body of a master of another person, the legendary Orthodox Murim. He but understood his idea. Having introduced another one can neutralize demonic energy. They have a little time and they start. Hui but says to try, and they will leave the rest heaven. The emperor who would not appear should be directly from heaven. The elderly fell from fatigue. Juan no says star for this. The old people notice the awakening of the master and ask him in order. The master is hungry and asks whether they have food. The master is accepted to eat everything that he sees. Juan No and Huibat think their ritual was successful, even though they are a little shocked by the past. The heavenly demon says why he was placed in such a tight place. The master, along with the demon, are in the same body. The master replies to him that the demon is much cooler than he heard. The guy can't stand it and tells these two that they are not alone here and tells them to shut up. The demon does not understand why the guy does not feel pain when they say his head should be split into pieces. The guy noticed that after the ritual of Huino and the Huan Nok, the voices in his head, although they remained, became less annoying. The heavenly demon arises and does not understand how the guy dares to talk in such a tone with the most powerful creature. Kvan No and Huibut in a misunderstanding that the guy is talking to himself. The second man entered into the body of Yunwan was Juainan, a priest revered as the sixth patriarch of the monastery Shaolin. The guy realized that a rather powerful person entered his body, because thanks to him, the heavenly demon could no longer bother him. He says thanks to the old boar, referring to Huane. Huino and the Huan Noka ask what the guy uses for the vulgar language. Yunwan says to give him another bowl of food. Of course, they fulfill his request and go for the additive in the hurry. Kavan Nach noticed that the guy is changing in his body at once, 3 personalities at once. His temper will be subject to sudden changes. The old man does not understand what to do with it, but Yunwan interrupts his thoughts and asks to bring him water. The guy asks Huainan to give him a name, because he seems to be the most knowledgeable of them. The old man invites him to take the name Inconstancy. Yunwan does not like it. He understands that people will not understand this name in Jianghu. The guy wants to know the opinion from the demon, and Huainan is upset. The demon says the old man cannot know something about coolness, and he should immediately ask him. He offers Yunwan to take the nickname Iron Krovni Asura. The guy replies that he needs a name, and not some foreign title. He does not understand how such an ignoramus became the strongest in the world. The demon is angry with his arrogance, and wants to immediately take possession of his body. But he doesn't succeed. The demon does not understand why Yunwan is all right. The demon realized that because of Huainan, he could not take control of his body. From the point of view of the number, the demon is weaker than them, so he cannot take possession of the body. He cannot take control of the body, so he has no other choice but to cooperate with them in the first place. The guy understands that using his surname Ju will be strange. The heavenly demon wants to absorb the body of Ju Yunwan completely. Yunwan asks the demon that he mutters under his breath. The demon says he thought about his fighting name and offers him a heavenly destroyer. The guy liked the name proposed by the demon. Kvanno asks the young master where he goes. The guy replies that he wants to wander around Murim. The old people do not understand why he is already leaving. The guy says there is nothing like that in this. Kvanno says Yunwan did not have time to restore all his strength and martial arts. The guy points to his forehead and speaks all the martial arts of the heavenly demon, and Juinon is stored in his head. He does not understand why they themselves spent this rite. They did not know about it. But tells them it is inconvenient to send a young master in this form. Yunwan looks at the tree. He conceived something. The old people are interested in what he was planning. They are worried. The guy tells the heavenly demon to use his martial arts. He accumulates a huge amount of purple energy in his hand. The guy showed them his strength and hit the road. The old people from the cliff look at him in the wake. He walks through the forest and sings something to himself. Kvanno is afraid that everything will be fine, but Huibut reminds him that the young master had come out of their control. Huannok is not about that. He means something else. He looks at the huge trench made by Yunwan and says whether it will be correctly released in Murima, referring to the guy. Huibut worries about the master. Kvanno says that the master will cope with difficulties. Kvanno considers Yunwan looks like an emperor. A huge man stands with his knees in the snow. His back is all in the wounds and his blood is dripping. This is the Senelian king of demons. He tells his opponents that they will not be able to break their spirit. The man relies on his big sword. He was surrounded by many enemies. A well-dressed man says Hunpo that his luck ends in the possession of the spirit of martial arts. He wandered just like that around the world. But the Association of the Northern Blades will not stand aside. The Senelian king of demons answers him if they are those who initially acted with their strength. The Association of the Northern Blade can be the dominant force in Jiangzhou, but Hunpyo is also a student of the Great School. The man is seriously configured. He tells the head of the Association of the Northern Blade that he will soon come on his head. A member of the association does not think so, because they spread the network of heaven and land to catch all the 7 kings of the demonic path. Hunpo, according to him, is not how much, but the members of the association tell him to stop to show off. The expression on his face was replaced. He was alert. A member of the association knows about his plan. Hunspo wants to win time, but he praises his courage for saving his brothers. The man points his finger up sarcastically smiling and asks about whether the Senelian demon has heard the sound. He thinks his brothers went to the underground world. Hunspio is furious. He realized that the association intends to destroy all the followers of the demonic path. The man rushes at the member of the association with a huge sword. But a member of the association easily retorts the attack of a blue demon, repulsing his sword with his foot, and in response, it beats him in the forehead with the handle of his sword, from which the man is crumpled in pain and falls to his knees. A member of the association tells him that getting rid of the followers of the demonic path is the right decision. Humpo says it doesn't matter what they do, but if the matter comes to this man, the man does not have time to finish. He interrupted a member of the association thinks that under the this man, he has in view of the Grand Master of the Demonic Way, Hyok at Chon, whom Hupneo respects so. The man asks the blue demon if he wants to know one secret. It turns out that the king of the swords of the North Sea and the murderer of the Azure Sea turned away, and the Grand Master of the Demonic Path could not do anything, because he does not take any measures, even when Hunpyo and his brothers die. But Hunpo understands that Hyok has Chon is not such a person. There will be times when he and their brothers along the demonic path will shed bloody tears, any valuable. A member of the association replies to him that he is chatting too much. This does not correspond to the appearance of the blue king of demons. He orders his subordinates to take him. A man promotes his sword and easily fights off the attack, scattering them around. One of the 3 men standing behind Hunpeo does not understand how the man has energy still to use the strengthening of the aura of Qi. Hunpeo looks frightened. The Senelian demon noticed that the one who reflected his blow blocked his reinforced Qi of the blade of his Qi sword. These 3 men are 3 great swordsmen Tianshan. The one that stands in the middle of them, says Hunpo. He remained the last of the 7 kings of the demonic path of the king of the demon. Today's hunt will end after they liquidate him. Hunpo expected something similar from the scum of orthodox warriors. The old man overworked because of him and says Hunpo just to die. 3 craftsmen use the enjoyable network of swords. The Senelian demon realized that he had come to an end, and thought soon to find himself in the next world with his brothers. From the last forces, Hunpo uses the art of a thunderstorm. But Yunwen interferes with him and knocks the weapon out of his hands. He also does not allow the masters to hold his attack and rushes past them with lightning speed. All their weapons lies on earth. Yunwen says what miserable bastards they are. Hunpo and the rest stand with open mouths and do not understand what kind of person it is. The guy claims that he watched the battle only because it was interesting, but they at least behave too arrogantly, although they own martial arts. The warriors on both sides realize that in the blink of an eye, Yunwen stole their weapons. They do not understand who it is, and the guy is calm. One of the swordsmen of Tian Shan asks him who he is in order to arrange such draws. Yunwen will not remember that he played the draws. The guy tells the master if their weapons stole their weapons. This is the biggest insult for them. The master is furious. The man replies to Yunwen that he is just a jerk, whose milk on his lips did not dry out. His combat comrade asks him to calm down. The second sword of Tian Shan Cheng asks Yunwen to call him. The guy timidly said that he is a spellman of a heavenly demon, a heavenly destroyer. The heavenly demon begins Yunwen. Yunwen learned the scripture that the Gemini Noah told him and calmed the demon. A man from Tian Shan's swords tells his comrades what idiots they are and why they appear before him. He tells the guy how he dares to belittle them, seeing how he talks about the heavenly demon and the like. It is easy to understand that the heavenly destroyer also practices the demonic path. A man wants to kill Hunpo with Yunwen, and he rushed at the guys with his sword with lightning speed. The heavenly demon asks Yunwen not to say that he is just going to sit back. The guy is not going to die in vain death after he survived the hellish time. He easily repels the master of the master using martial arts. The remaining two masters of the Tianshani sword are trying to intervene in the duel, but Yunwen scatters them on the sides. The heavenly demon laughs and tells Yunwen that he could not use even half of his strength. The guy is angry and tells the demon to shut up. The old man is angry, watches the battle from the side and says what dumb bastards they are. The man grabs the sword flying into him, and he strikes Yunwen, a strong scale of the sword. The man tells the guy that he should not be distracted. The old man thinks he caught him. But Yunwen substitutes another man. The guy asks the attacker why he ruined his hairstyle. The guy tells him, is it possible to cut his allies? The man is angry with him, but the guy beats him in the face with his boot. The rest of the swords of Tian Shan also become furious, seeing how their comrade was on his knees with a broken nose. They attack him, but he easily evades their attacks and attacks in response. Yunwen beats a man who broke his nose with his foot in his neck, from which he writhes in pain. The warrior does not understand what his subordinates are doing, and why they do not crush numbers. But the guy quickly finds himself next to him and says, it seems the old man likes to fight with numerical superiority. The old man jumps back in fear. He does not understand how Yunwen did not noticeably crept up to his nose. He is surprised by his rack. The guy stands on one leg, and the second is bent and stretched up, and his head is overturned back. The heavenly demon is surprised that Yunwen is going to use this. The guy hits a lot of foot on the ground with mystical power. The demon says this martial art is his symbol. The guy is cloned. This technique is called heavenly demonic racing. The Senelic demon thinks him. The warrior of swords Tianshan believes that this is the technique of illusion. Yunwen answers, he is not sure, and let the old man look better. The man is furious and shouts that the three great swordsmen of the Tianshan did not peck on a simple cloning technique. He rushes at one of the illusions. The old man thinks this real. But another clone breaks through his stomach. The old man stands in horror without his left hand and looks at his dead comrades. And all the survivors run away from Yunwen. The heavenly demon thinks the guy is going to chase them. But he thinks for today enough and can be stopped. The Senelian demon is shocked by the fact that Yunwen is going to finish only because he was bored. Hunpo looks at the heaps of the corpses of the people whom Yunwen killed. In this world, Orthodox have much more weight than demonic followers. The man thinks in this inverted world an incredible person appeared. The heavenly demon tells Yunwen he has qualities to follow him. The wounded Hunpo crawled to Yunwen. The Senelian demon asks Yunwen to take him with him, calling the guy a great warrior. The guy runs away from him. He calls Hunpej a hairy old man and will never take him with him. The man continues to scream in his trail. The city of Kaifeng, Murim was turned upside down by 2,000 swordsmen of the Association of the Northern Blade, and 500 martial arts of the Union of 9 Orthodox forces were sent to hunt for 7 kings of the demonic path, and destroyed 6 of the 7 kings. People discussed this. But the second news shocked Murim even more. The spellman of the heavenly demon, the heavenly destroyer, is one who destroyed 528 people from the Association of the Northern Blade, and 127 people from the Alliance of 9 Orthodox. This is the emergence of a demonic god. 3 guys are discussing him. One heard that everyone who saw him died. The second speaks his face like the devil, and the boy will cross, because Hak Duk Hyun, the second sword of Tianshan, who managed to survive that he was a young and beautiful master. But in any case, the Northern Blade Association has already directed the investigative group. It seems in Murim, a bloody massacre. The heavenly demon says, since they are all discussing them, it was an excellent appearance of a heavenly destroyer. Yunwan tells him to shut up. The guy has a feeling that he was drawn into a meaningless struggle. The heavenly demon says that in this, because the guy even changed clothes, Huinin thinks he did not mean this. The guy says to these two that they are too noisy and tells them to shut up. Yunwan thinks that Hakaduk Hyun knows him in the face he should be disguised. Huinin offers a guy instead of disguising you can simply change your opinion about yourself. The guy did not even think about it. In the Pavilion Neutral Hotel, the girl welcomes the new visitor. The guy asks to bring him a bottle of alcohol and several simple snacks. Yunwan asks the girl why she continues to stare at his face. The waitress was embarrassed and covered her face with her hand. The guy thinks what is the matter and does she really know who he is? The girl replies that in 10 years of work as a waitress, she first sees such a beautiful client. The guy breathed out. The waitress asks him for a second to wait, and she will bring him everything right now. The guy began a meal. He noticed that the alcohol, which was given to him, was different from the one he drank in the palace. Huainan does not know what alcohol tastes, but he believes that this is what the joy of commoners brings. He is interested in Yunwan how he feels, and whether the taste of drinking from Murim differs. The guy thought about his words. He had so many opportunities to try him, but he did not like him. The only one who loved to drink was his uncle. It is bitter. Alcohol was always bitter for him. Huainan thinks, judging by what he heard, there should be a mental illness made alcohol bitter. The guy does not understand what he has under the illness of the soul. The old man says, even this time, the young man inevitably committed murder. No one else can pay for his sins. Huainan asks not to make his stupid mistakes, entering the battle that could be avoided, and committing meaningless murders. In this way, someday, the guy will be able to feel the sweetness of alcohol, according to the sage. Yunwan thought about his words. The heavenly demon says these words are like the words of any of the same old man, and asks Huainan to whether he knows the taste of alcohol at all. The demon believes that if you don't kill you, then they will kill you. This applies to the whole world, and not just Murim. Huainan answers the heavenly demon. This is the first time that Yunwan commits such an excessive murder after coming to Murim, and the heavenly demon should show a little generosity to the guy and learn to understand him. The demon says there is no shitty generosity. Yunwan did not think that the martial arts of the heavenly demon would be so strong. It was the first time he felt so free. However, if he will use force only in his interests, then he will not be different from his uncle. The guy tells Juainan that when his drinks will become sweet and he will give him a drink. The old man answers him, he cannot be alcohol since he was a monk. Suddenly the heavenly demon interrupts them and tells Yunwan to be on the watchman, because someone is approaching him. The guy thinks, judging by his clothes, the one who came up to him is a member of the coalition of the Southern Blade. He introduced himself to Yunwan. His name is Tan Jian from the province of Sichuan. Tanjong offers to join their company. Yunven understood. Judging by their appearance, they should be approximately his age, and it looks like Tanjong master of martial arts. He thinks since he is bored, you can join them and get some kind of information. Tanjong tells his friends, because the young master happily accepted their proposal, they should greet each other. The first to introduce Namgun Herkun, who received the title of the Divine Dragon of the White Sword. Yunwan tells him pleasantly to meet them. The demon says a good endurance. The muscular guy is called Zhonhu, an iron bloody fist. The girl's name is Een. The girl, he thinks he is quite handsome. Namgun Hemi is silent. She does not understand that in him so good that everyone is so happy. Yunwan repeats once again, he is pleased to meet them. Murong Jongjiol from the Murong clan says enough introductory words on their part and asks Yunwan. The guy noticed that they all look like the descendants of prestigious combat clans. He does not know how to behave, since they all treat him very hospitably. Yunwan changes places in his surname and appears as Wen Yun, a scientist who wanders here and there and for him to be with such wonderful people. The heavenly demon tells him why, after the heavenly destroyer, he took such a shitty name. The demon believes that no one knows about the personality of the guy. Jonggiol is also pleasant to meet him. The heavenly destroyer thought that these guys are ordinary inhabitants of Murim of his age, but having heard their ideas, he realized that these 4 gentlemen and 4 ladies turned out to be a high position. Unlike the Association of the Northern Blade and the Coalition of the Southern Blade, they belong to a much more powerful power to the Orthodox fraction, known for its righteous acts of the League of 5 Clans. And there were clans in the pillars of this league. Namgun, Tan from Sichuani, Pan from Habai, Yan from Jingzhou and Murong. Yunwen realized that these people were children of the elites who were responsible for the future 5 clans. The guy is interested in them that they brought them to the house of Kaifan because this place is quite far from Chengdu and Jianggan. The demon is surprised because Yunwen says that he almost does not know Murim. But when he was an emperor, he almost knew the whole Murima map. Junqiu answers Yunveni that even if they explain to him, he will not understand. The man says something happened in Murim. Hemi says this place is Kaifeng. There may be the headquarters of the Beggar sect, but it is also the base of the Association of the Northern Blade. The guy was worried that he was in the very heart of the Association of the Northern Blade. Yunwen wants to know more information about how their meeting is connected with the Association of the Northern Blade. One Hemi roar with a roar on the table, saying how curious it is. The girl tells him that the grandiose banquet of representatives of the Orthodox faction will take place here. But the guy meant where he could know. Zhongjil asks her sister not to be rude to the guest. The girl agrees and continues to eat. Yunwen suggests due to the grandiose banquet of the Orthodox faction, all Orthodox martial artists gather in the Kaifan house. Hemi chewing confirms his hunch. Yunwen did not know that the world of Murim was so divided into various factions. He inspires them that the amateur against Murim. Zhongjiol noticed this and suggests that the guy would be interested in learning about the world of Murim. The man tells Murim a hard place, especially now, when the root of the conflict becomes deeper and deeper. Yunwen is interested in what kind of conflict root. Zhongjiel says no matter what the guy is an amateur in Murim's matters. He should know about the conflict of the orthodox and demonic path. The guy quickly replied that he knows about it. The man continues. Even in the history of Murim, these two forces were not as clearly divided as today. They are in a situation where everyone in Murim must choose between 2 options, no matter what. Yunwen does not understand how it is, because there should be people who do not want to belong to not one of the ways. Zhongjiol replies that of course there are such. But people who sit in the middle are considered as enemies, and most likely will be killed. Yunwen thinks this unreasonable. Kill people who do not want to belong to any of the parties. The guy apologizes that Zhongjiol interrupts, but he wants to know who makes charges in their direction. Zhongjiol says they are an orthodox faction, and he also belongs to her, so Yunwen can think that he is only flattering him. But he does not think that the orthodox faction overwhelming the demonic path is the only way to preserve Murim's moral. The heavenly demon, Jungiol, thinks rather unsighted, as for a small child from the orthodox faction. Hemi reminds his older brother that he should not behave like that in the presence of so many people. Yunwen agrees with his opinion, but now his opinion has no influence and in general it is unrealistic. But still, behind this person, he should carefully observe him. The guy understood the complexity of the situation in Murim and learned a lot of new things. Zhongjiol says his circumstances. Zhongjil sees his interest in Murim and asks him not hesitated to ask questions. The guy says it may sound arrogantly, but he is interested in who is now the strongest in Jianghu. Zhongjiol was surprised and thought after his question. Yunwen realized that he was asking a rather sensitive question. The man says everything is in order, but he himself is not sure who is the strongest, despite some of the discrepancies in opinions. Leading people among 4 generations should be a grand master of the demonic path. The heavenly demon does not know who they are. He never heard and did not see them. Yunwen replied that he understood. However, Jianghu is very great, and there are definitely masters of martial arts more than mentioned by Zhonggil. They can appear anywhere and anywhere. The guy asks about the master of Juanan, the 6th ancestor Shaolin. Zhongjil does not know. It is difficult for him to say because he lived more than 700 years ago. The heavenly demon breaks the laughter. He tells the old man Juin that he will not achieve much within the framework of time. And after he asks for a heavenly demon, Zhongjil is not clear why the guy asks about him. He thinks this story is implausible, so it is not clear how much they can trust her. The demon is angry. He says that even the old people outside the heaven know about this fact. Suddenly a crowd of men enters the room and one of them overtures the woman to the floor. The man tells her how she dares to think that she can escape from them. The girl asks to spare her life. Yunwan understood according to the fact that it was the members of the Northern Blade Association. A person standing in front is the vice captain of the law enforcement of the Association Northern Blade. The sword of the White Tiger Ga Duksam. Young people from the 5 great clans are not pleased with what is happening. Gaduksam tells the girl how he dares to throw his father, saying that he wants to survive herself. The girl asks someone to save her. Hemi takes out his sword and intervenes in the situation. She asks, since Kaifeng became so lawless, and how can masters of martial arts from orthodox sects oppress such a helpless girl? The people supports her words, and people say this is not permissible even if they are from the Association of the Northern Blade. Ga Duksum replies to her how he dares to poke his nose in the affairs of their association, after which she cannot be safe. The girl says he can scare anyone else with this, but not her Huskun Hemi. It will not work with her. Everything is in the room in shock, because this daughter of the divine sword of the azure sky. A man tells her not to interfere in the affairs of other sects, such as avowal rule to Jianhu. Hemi says she is not so stupid as not to know this, but do not turn a blind eye to the fact that it goes against public order, and this is what she should do as a martial art master. And judging by what she sees, they are engaged in something similar to the abduction. The man thinks she does it because she does not understand. This girl of Shuejufen, the daughter of a snowy tiger, possessing 1,000 skills. Shuejinya, leader of the sect of the demonic border of Kaifeng. They do not have a choice because they issued an order to arrest all members of the sects of the demonic border. And if she intends to interfere with them, then they will have to use force. Zhongjiol says since when the law enforcement detachment of the Association Northern Blade behaves so brazenly, Yunwen believes he should not join them. The guys and a detachment of law enforcement stand, surrounding the woman. The man says they are in the performance of official duties. He noticed that judging by his clothes, this guy is also from the great clan Namgun. Ga Duksum asks, or they are trying to threaten him. Zhongjiol says if this is really so what they are going to do. In this case, Ga Duksum will report this to his superiors. The captain of the law enforcement detachment, nicknamed Smiling, eliminating the sword of Wu Henshin, says there is no need for this. The word retreat does not exist in the dictionary of their detachment, and you should not report something so insignificant. All in the detachment bow to the captain. The heavenly demon says what kind of bastard it is, like food sticks. The captain asks the young master Namgun whether he seems to him that he is crossing the line. The guy is angry and does not understand what he means. If the leader of the alliance of the 5 clans learns about this, then Yang Geol will be held accountable. Zhang Geol can fall into a difficult situation if the story that the future leader of the Namgun clan was faced with the Association of the Northern Blade because of a simple girl from the demonic path will come out. But Zhang Geol does not back down. The security captain asks if the guy will suffer responsibility if the relationship between the 5 Clans League and the Northern Blade Association ruin. Zhonhu replies to him both he dares to behave and threaten the next chapter of the Namgun clan. Wu Henshin says he is respected by the heir to the clan Namgun based on his young age, and Zhonhu does not dare to tell him something similar. The captain gives the order not to let anyone out into the street and surround this place. He asks Zhang Geol what he will do now. The heavenly demon does not like this captain. He says the scum of their orthodox sects have always been wolves in the sheep's skin, and tells the heavenly destroyer why he should not be cut down. The guy says his personality will be immediately disclosed if he applies martial arts. The demon says simply to score them to death so that there are no witnesses left. In this case, Huainan suggests applying his martial arts. The guy is surprised. The security captain once again asks the young master what he's going to do. The guy is angry, clenching his fists. He says to leave this girl to them. Zhang Jiol tells him since they cannot then watch his investigation and accompany the girl, and it doesn't matter who her father is, because this does not apply to her, and if they refuse, then they will not leave this. The expression on the captain's face was replaced. The guy does not understand what was the matter. Jie Duksum knows that this facial expressions mean that the captain wants to kill. Wu Henshan tells them that they carry clans of the coats of arms of clans on their backs, but they don't know how the world works, and says let them try to take it from them. The guys are tuned and prepared to fight. The captain of the detachment takes out his wavy sword from behind. It is unbearable to look at the arrogant face of the master from a rich house, and he intends to just take and kill this girl in place. Zhang Jiol says how to do this, being a member of the orthodox sect. He says to kill her would be too much. The captain wants to expose the girl. Hemi says what bastard he is. Yunwan does not tolerate this, and using Huinanen's power attacks Wu Henshin. Yunwan is far back the captain of the security detachment. Hemi and Zhang Geol are surprised because they thought the guy an ordinary scientist. Everyone is in shock under a guy soaring in the air. Zhang Geol knows that this is a martial art of Shaolin, a step of climbing heaven. Captain Wu Henshin, coughing, tells the guy how he dared to hit him. He is at a loss as Yunwan soars. He did not know that such scurvy exists. Wu Henshan does not think that the guy is a member of the League of 5 Clans. The man does not understand where he came from. Yunwen tells him to let the girl the captain of the law enforcement detachment will die today from his hand. Juanan dissuades Yunwan, and the sky, on the contrary, encourages the sky. The captain does not know who this guy is, but he is even more incomprehensible why he does it. Wu Henshin once again repeats that he is a representative of the Northern Blade Association. and wants to take a sword from the floor. The guy, hitting the captain, repeats him to let her go and stop repeating who he is. However, he cannot do this, even if Yunwen is a martial artist. The words retreat are not in the dictionary of their law enforcement. After these words, he receives a strong blow in his stomach with his hand from the guy. Yunwen attacks his pressure point using a large number of blows. The guy tells him that the next time he will really hit. The captain is furious and orders his detachment to kill this bastard. The guy does not forcefully beat the flower pot with his foot and throws him in one of the warriors. The vice captain stands with an open mouth from what is happening, but Yunwan quickly sweeps him out of his path. In the building, a complete chaos. Yunwan alone understands the soldiers. Imprints one of them into the ground by the reception of the Buddha. The guy does not understand why these people continue to fight without relying on anything but quantity. A man with a mustache also attacks him, but the guy easily throws him with 2 fingers. And he also defends his back from the soldier's attack. Zhang Jiol is shocked by what he saw. After all, Yunwen applies a fist of bamboo leaves, a heavenly palm, and the palm of Bodhisattva. If his memory does not change him, then these are all the higher techniques of Shaolin. Wu Henshan once again rushes at the guy with his wavy sword. However, his facial expression changes again at fear. Yunwen has accumulated a large amount of yellow energy in his palm. He uses Vajra's energy palm. Zhang Jiol is still surprised because Yunwen applied the technique of the higher indestructible palm. The guy suspects that Yunwen, master of martial arts, who studied all 72 higher techniques of Shaolin. Hemi asks the captive girl, in order whether she is in order. The girl answers positively. The captain of the security detachment is lying on the floor after a strong blow. Yunwen uses a sound gear. He tells Wu Henshan to listen carefully, because he will say once. The guy asks to tell all the members of the law enforcement officer to retreat immediately. And if the captain refuses, he will experience hellish pain not similar to the one he experienced before. The man in response nodded to Yunwan's head. Young people from the League of 5 Clans, along with Yunwan, are in an awkward silence. The guys are shocked by his abilities. The guy realized that he was too far. Yunwan thinks to leave everything as it is, and tells the rest to start the tidy in the store. And after cleaning, all these young people gathered at the same table, although it was embarrassed. The guy beats Wu Henshan on the back and offers to sit together to eliminate the tension. Zhonhu has no words, because there should be a limit to how much you can look down on others. He tells Yunwan how he can laugh after he put everyone fools. Ayan agrees Namgun, because the young man pretended to be an amateur, but the amount of internal energy, which he had, incredible. But still, in her head, she considers him cool. Yunwan bows and apologizes. Due to the inevitable circumstances, he had no other choice but to lie about his personality. He hopes that the guys would not be offended by him. But despite this, that he is an amateur in the world of Murim is true, because he first came to Murim. The guy hopes for their forgiveness. Zhang Jiol laughs loudly and calls him Young Master Zwen. Yunwen is interested in whether the heir to the clan Namogun has some kind of question. The young man does not want to become attached to the past and ruin new acquaintances. However, it will be better if the guy tells about his inevitable circumstances so that they feel less deceived and asks what his true personality is. The guy does not want to speak about it just so recklessly, but he understands that fate brought them down, and therefore will not hide from them that he inherited the mantras of the Honorable Huinian, the 6th patriarch of the Shaolin Temple. All in the company is shocked by what they heard. The heavenly demon tells the guy that he knows how to invent best, but it cannot be said that he is completely wrong. But Yin cannot understand this. She does not believe that this is possible, because Huainan was a man of the period of the Tang dynasty. The girl does not understand how to inherit his mantra. Hemi asks him if he wants to say that he became immortal. John also thinks this complete nonsense. The heavenly demon asks Yunwan what he is going to do now, and thinks the guy's lodges will not work. Yunwan understands that his explanation was not clear enough, and he did not meet with Joinan personally. The guy claims that he was born on Mount Tai, and once walking, found traces of his scripture in the cave. After that, he went to the cave every day. It was not easy for him to understand the texts, but after many years, despite some shortcomings, he was able to realize his heritage. Since Hemi personally saw how he does it, she cannot but believe him. Zhang Jiol believes that Yunwen really became the owner of a successful find. In any case, Yunwen will be grateful if the guys forgive him. The young man replies that they should be careful in how they relate to him from now on, and he considers this blessing of orthodox sects. The guy is interested in what, under caution, Zhang Jiol tells the guy. In Murim, one of the most important things in Murim is elderly, and since the guy has a divine creature of Shaolin as his teacher, they should respect him. All at the table agree with him. They want to raise glasses for acquaintance. Wu Henshan does not like what he drinks with them. But suddenly, some inner voice tells him not to be upset and calm down. Yunwen again uses a distance connection. He tells the captain to get out if he is going to spoil everyone's mood, and he has noted that he will be with him if he carelessly expresses his opinion. The captain knows that the guy uses the technique of cultivating yin-yang, which shares thoughts and actions. It is difficult for him to believe that Yunwen uses such a difficult technique so forcedly. The guy asks Wu, but the captain is already snuggled from him. Yunwen asks if there will be other incidents after that. The captain assures him that nothing more will happen again. Yunwen invites him to leave because he needs to treat wounds. Wu Henshan thanks him for care. Zhang Gil invited Yunwen to stay with them for the night, because they were already in the neighboring tract. The guy relaxes in a hot source. He tries to live calmly. But the surrounding world is not in his favor. The heavenly demon says this life of the strong. This time he owe a lot to Juanan. The monk replies that there is nothing like that for this. Yunwen lived a bustle and heavy day, but suddenly he hears that someone calls him a heavenly destroyer and tells him to recover. The guy turns around and sees the Siniliche demon Humpo. The young man is very surprised by his appearance. Yunwen did not think that the guy whom he had recently met on the snowwork would follow him all the way. Humpo asks for him as a student, calling him a great warrior. The guy says his ears will burst and tells him to shut up. The Sinelian demon says once he almost died, and because he would be saved by his life, he will devote it to Yunwen. Yunwen considers him hopeless, and the heavenly demon offers to take Humpo into subordinates. However, if he goes with him, he will attract too much attention. The guy came up with a place where to send him and said that he would take him to his subordinates. On Mount Tai, the Gemini Noah gather firewood. Hui is interested in what kind of sound that he has already heard for a long time. He sees Humpo with a huge ball behind his back. The man arrived at the elderly, and glad that he finally found this place. Yunwen agreed to take him as a student. But with the skills that Humpo has, he will only be a guy. So he sends him to study in Mount Tai. The man seems to be an insignificant Azure King of Demons, following the order of his lordship. He arrived in order to greet his masters on Mount Tai. Hui but asks who is his master, because this is a place that no one can know about, especially such a stupid smashed. Huan-no sighs and thinks what Yunwen is doing. And at that time he is meditating and practicing in the control of energy. Along with Juinan, the old man tells the young man to focus on the stream, because he is like a wave, so she needs to follow and not go against her. The guy tells him to stop. The mister has become better control of the inner QE. The demon does not understand why to conduct such basic training. Huainan answers him that the basics are very important. The demon also asks the heavenly destroyer than he plans to do further. Yunwen is not defined. He does not yet know what he wants to do. The heavenly demon says the young man's body is weak to hone his skill and offers him to draw up his plan since the guy has not decided yet. The young man replies that this can only be in the dreams of the demon, because even if he does not have big plans, he will do what the heart will tell, and he does not want to abandon something again. Huainan asks the guy not to spend his life on vain obsession and vanity, and this would correspond to the providence of the universe that gave him this power. And the heavenly demon tells him not to refuse anything and to achieve everything he wants. Yunwen thinks he lives with a hooligan and a callous old man. The guy tells them to stop, and in any case, he will decide how to live. He says that only part of the recollections of martial arts was transmitted in the form in which they are, and as if someone specifically ruined the rest. He is interested in what needs to be done so that they become intact again. The heavenly demon thinks this will happen naturally when the guy's Qi becomes more mature. For example, he can completely unite them with Juanan and renew all possible tricks. If Yunwen is killed by the great technique of simulating death before their unification, then they will be able to temporarily act without it, and they will be able to free themselves into a state of perfect unity. Then the demon wants to master his body. The guy asks. The demon adds that they will be able to go anywhere or to the underground world, or to another body. After the departure of his grandfather, the young man went through a lot. But most of all, he was worried about how he was very bored with him. The old man tells the boy that he will have to go the other way, so he should not return to the world the pain that he suffered. Grandfather asks not to become a guy whose demon drives only revenge, but to become a strong person. The boy asks not to leave his grandfather. The heavenly demon and Huainan notice that the guy had a bad dream, because of which he was very worried. Yunwen thanks the demon because, thanks to his scream, he woke up. The demon tells why not say thanks to the guy later. He notices that someone is approaching and warning Yunwen. The heavenly demon, Huainan, and the young man are waiting and looking at the door. Some girl opened the curtain. The guy does not understand who at such a later time could visit him. The guy thinks this killer sent by the Association of the Northern Blade. Humpo should have already gone to Mount Tai. The heavenly demon thinks, judging by his steps, This is a girl. Yunwan does not understand what he is talking about. He jumped out of bed. The guy in shock, he asks Namgun-in why she came to him. The girl tells him that since she saw him, it seemed to her was destined to be together. She takes his hand. Ian feels that she will lose him if she does not gain courage. The demon thinks this cool, and the monk tells the guy he cannot do it. Ian crawls closer and closer to him and floods him with compliments. Yunwan understands if the girl continues both of them, so he asks her to return to him. The girl asks him how he can be so cold to her. She thinks the guy hates her. But Yunwan denies. The young man says not in terms of her level, and she is much higher than him. The guy apologizes and will accept her gestures with a noble heart. Ian agrees with him. She thinks Yunwan arrived in Murim with great ambitions. The girl understands everything and will return to herself. The guy thanks her for understanding. However, she does not intend to refuse him, but this time she will retreat. Yain slammed the doors. The young man is still shocked by the situation. The heavenly demon tells him what a simpleton he was, because he missed such an opportunity. And the monk, as always, answers the opposite. He believes Yunwan did everything correctly. He gets out of bed. The demon asks Li Yunwan to go to her room, and the young man tells him not to carry nonsense. He has a lot of worries, and he decides to go outside to breathe fresh air. The demon notices that the guy gets a good technique of flight of the heavenly demon, and he is interested in where he goes, living as he got. This is cool, but he still needs to sleep. The guy, seeing his grandfather in a dream, remembered the person with whom he should meet. He arrived in Kaifeng not only to have fun. Yunwan arrived at the Guangdi Temple, where there is a huge statue of a man. The demon thinks that the young man came here to express respect or something like that. However, he arrived here, since the Gemini Noah told him that the headquarters of the gang of beggars was located here. In the gangs of the poor, the number of nodes on the belt indicates a person. On the belts of those two that the daggers put to his throat 2 knots, and it seems they are informants. The information that he heard from the Huskan of Hukaryun is very useful. The robber asks the guy what is his business here, and why he came here. Yunwan seems to be Wan Yun. He came to see the former leader of the gang of the poor, Mr. Pang Chong-ho. They jumped away from him after they heard his name. One of the bandits thought that Wen Yun was possibly a great warrior, Jade Divine Dragon. The guy will not remember that he had such a nickname, but he really is Wen Yun. Bandits ask, did he not yesterday arranged a skirmish with the Association of the Northern Blade in the Neutrality Pavilion? The young man confirms their guess. Yunwan expected this. The twins told him that the gang of beggars has eyes and ears everywhere and they know everything. The guys say with kindness to follow them. The young man looks around at the reception, the headquarters of the gang. The man in the outskirts apologizes to him for the rudeness of the reception at the entrance. He replies that these are trifles. He sees 3 knots from a man. He means he occupies a rather high position in the sect. He is interested in what business and Yunwan to their leader, the sect. Yunwan hands him the emperor's medallion. If the leader is showing this, he will immediately understand why the guy arrived here. The man asks to wait. He will immediately inform the great leader of the sect about the arrival of the guy. The young man is interested in why the bandit does not ask him for anything. He is interested in what reason he does it. The gang of beggars and the association of the Northern Blade enemies in Kaifeng, and the fact that Yunwan humiliated them is good news for the gang of poor. Although he does not know what kind of connection with their leader, he is also interested in what Yunwan will do. Therefore, the guy should not feel in debt in front of him. The man leaves and asks the young man to feel at home. The guy thinks that in any case, although this is not striking, but the structure of their central office is excellent, unlike their appearance, a gang of poor power to be considered. He will have to pay expensive if he looks at them as simple beggars. Suddenly, some old man appears sharply in front of the guy. He asks Yunwan whether he brought this token. Yunwan notices a huge number of nodes on the old man's belt. The old man asks the guy if he was the young master who brought this medallion. The guy confirms this. Pun Chunho knees and welcomes the young man, calling him the emperor. He asks to forgive himself, an insignificant subject, for betrayal. Yunwan is in shock and does not understand what is happening. From now on, he intends to risk his life in order to support his majesty. The guy expected this because he was heard about him. Before his departure, the twins told him to go to Kaifeng to meet with the leader of the gang, and they say that he would need to use the emperor's token again. The young man realized that he was not suitable for his grandfather. Pun Chongho asks if everything is good with Huino and Huanobu. Yunwan has no doubt that this is so. At least since he saw them for the last time, a lot of time passed. The old man asks the emperor to speak with him aside. But the guy is so convenient, especially since he is no longer an emperor, so Pun does not have to be so courteous. Pun Chonho informs the guy that he and the twins know the only forces that His Majesty Emperor Taizu placed in Jianghu. The old man tells him when he did not make an order, They will support him at any time and do everything possible for this. Yunwen answers the old man that he no longer intends to engage in politics. His uncle is now the hero of this era, and the young man has no desire to get involved in family showdowns again. Poon Chong-ho understands him and is interested in what the guy plans to do in this case. Although the guy is no longer an emperor, he cannot live a wretched life. That's why he is thinking of Rule Jianghu as its emperor. The guy says if the gang of beggars and the twins of No unite their forces, then most sects in Jianghu will not be able to exert worthy resistance. There is nothing possible to force large forces to surrender. Yunwon asks Pune whether he can arrange a bloody bathhouse for him. The old man asks him to be sure of him, the guy confirms. But their gang of beggars is not even connected with the alliance of 9 sects, 9 orthodox alliances, and asks the guy who knows why. The young man replied that he did not know, and the old man says this so that their gang remains independent. Despite the fact that their gang is all over Jianghu, great power and determination are required if the gang members want to rush into the fiery hole and fulfill its order. However, they do everything in the name of the heavenly order. If Yunwen orders this, then even if it is wrong, they do it without unnecessary questions. As expected from his grandfather, he had truly devoted subordinates. He could just dismiss a gross request of a little boy. But he remained faithful to himself, despite the fact that he was a powerful leader. The more he recognizes him, the more he understands how incredible his grandfather was. The guy apologizes before Pun to say that it was just a joke. The old man was embarrassed and thought to show disrespect, not knowing that it was a joke. Yunwan says everything is in order, and the old man's words, on the contrary, gave him a lot of confidence. He asks if the old man will listen to his request again, later, when he comes his help. The old man confidently agrees with the young man. Pun is interested in the guy what happened, because according to rumors he uses Shaolin martial arts, and his name is already quite known throughout Kaifeng. Yunwen says this for too long to explain and let him listen to it from the twins Noah, and the guy is interested in whether the old man will be attended by the grandiose banquet Righteous Way. The student of Puna will take part, and if Yunwan will also go, then the old man will make him accompany. In this case, the guy reports that they will be seen later and is going to leave, and the old man asks him to wait a minute. Pun pressed on a stone and asks the former emperor to proceed after him, because he wants to show something to the young man. The guy passes after him. He is shocked by what he saw. There are a lot of weapons into the room. The demon also notices it. The old man tells the guy that this is the weapon of the Han era, and in its form the heart trembles. Yunwan agrees with him because it is a really amazing arsenal and asks how much more they should go. Pun says they came. The guy, wide opening his mouth in amazement. The old man retained what Emperor Taizu acquired, and he thinks the time came to these beautiful swords to find his legal owner. The demon and the monk are also surprised. It seems to the heavenly demon these swords are familiar. The guy does not understand why they raised such a noise. He notices that there is something strange in these swords. Pun asks the young man to choose everything he will like. The guy thought about what kind of sword he should choose. The demon and Hunin is arguing among themselves. The demon wants the guy to choose a black sword, and the monk asks to take white. But Yunwan asks Pune from whether he can take both. The old man laughs and says why not, because the swords still belong to Yunwan and he can take them. The demon thinks his greed knows no boundaries, and the monk considers even one of these swords too much. The guy does not understand why Huainin and the heavenly demon are fussing so much and asks the leader of the beggars if he knows anything about the origin of these swords. As far as the old man knows, a dark sword is a heavenly demonic sword, and white is Ganjiang's sword. Now the young man understood why the demon raised this noise because it was his sword. He asked what about the white sword Ganjiang? The old man says this sword was created by the great master and is also known as the Emperor's sword. The guy looks at his swords and he is interested in the Emperor's sword. He arrived at the hotel where the rest were located. Zhong Gale asked Yunwan where he was. The guy was a little stuffy, so he decided to take a walk. Hemi noticed his swords. She did not see them last night. He replies that he found them by accident and there is nothing special in them. The girl does not think so, because they look like precious ones. Zhang says the rest of the big tournament came, and it is time for them to go. Zhang Jiel offers the young Master Wen to go with them. Ji Gun from Shaolin said that he would also visit a grandiose tournament. The guy considers Yunwan amazing, because one day he received the title of Divine Dragon with a jade face. His fame has already spread throughout Kaifeng. Probably many will watch young men during the tournament. The guy is flattered that people have such a good opinion, and Ian admires a guy. The girl says there is nothing insignificant in him. Yunwan does not feel like something wrong. He thanks the lady for the compliment. In any case, he cannot believe that he can see such a great pavilion from such a distance. The Association of the Northern Blade is the leading organization both by name and essentially the largest fourth of the Orthodox sects, which includes the coalition of the Southern Blades, the League of Five Clans, and the Alliance of Nine Orthodox. 3 swords of Tianshan are directly subordinate to the head of the association. Raise the Hall of Guards, the Hall of a Demonic Sword, a Bloody Sword, and a Hall of a Heavenly Sword. A little below these 4 is an advisor, general officer, and inspector. The Iron Brigade is located directly under the leadership of the general. In total, the number of soldiers exceeds 5,000 people, with the exception of the gang of beggars. This is the most powerful and numerous strength. The current organization of the Northern Blade is very aggressive, but Zhang Jiol is now most worried about the Hall of Demonic and Bloody Swords. Yunwan noticed these names, and it does not seem to him that it looks like the fact that Orthodox sects should use. The young man confirms his guess. Initially, they were the most famous assassins of the Dark Way, and were later recruited by the association. However, their hard nature has not changed after they joined the Association of the Northern Blade. Their League of the Five Clans and the Coalition of the Southern Blade expressed their discontent on this subject, but the Association of the Northern Blades simply dismissed them. As a result, the League of the Five Clans and the Association of the Northern Blade have never been in good relations. Yunwen also noted that the former members of the Dark Way, who joined the association, will be fought with a Dark Way. It looks contradictory. In any case, the pavilion is very large. It should be worth a lot of money. Tanjong says there are rumors that it cost 100,000 gold taels. The guy is stunned by the amount heard. He does not understand where they got money from. Zhang Jiol talks about their main income. The basis of the source is a business for the delivery of goods. They also own taverns and wine shops with pawn shops of the like. The young man looked around so that no one would hear them, and told Yunwan in his ear should be a dark way for them to be a balm in the eye, since most of these enterprises controlled the Dark Path sect. Yunwan realized that getting rid of the Dark Path and the monopolization of these income would definitely bring them a huge amount of money. Someone jumping on a horse shouts to leave people from the road. Some had blood from the ears because the scream was filled with the energy of Qi. Hemi is interested in what kind of person it is. Yunwen does not leave the road and stands right in front of an impending horse. The horse does not understand why he stands a pillar. The girl and Zhang Gaol shout to him that it is dangerous. The heavenly demon also does not understand his actions. The guy is going to fight with a horse. Yunwan annoys this recklessness. The guys scream again about the danger. However, the rider easily jumps over him. In flight, she exchanges his eyes with him. She landed and rode away. The guy in shock. The horse jumped so high, and it seemed to him as if she was flying. Hemi says not in vain whether he pretended to be cool, and Ian is interested in Lee. The demon also laughs from him and does not understand why he tried to behave cool. Yunwan notices it was an incredible person. Such an ability to own a horse is rarely found even in the army. He did not think that he would see such an art of owning a horse in Jianghu where people were less trained in this. Moreover, the rider was a girl. The guy thinks this huge Q stands for the tournament. Zhang Jiao also thinks so. Hemi is tired. She says why they should wait after they were invited. Her brother asks to be more polite. The guy says Zhang Jiao. There is no need for this, he noticed someone in the crowd. The heir to the clan Namgun does not understand what he is talking about. Yunwen turns out to notice Captain Wu and waves his hand. The captain does not believe and does not understand why the guy here, the young man, using the sound transmission, tells him to hurry and come to them. He welcomes him, saying that he had to do this before. Wu realized that Yunwen came to a grandiose tournament with members of the League of Five Clans. The young man asks the captain to help because their time is too valuable to stand in line. He squeezes his shoulder and asks whether the captain will help the guys. Wu Henshan kindly agrees, saying that they are not strangers. The guy apologizes to the warrior for constant requests. Wu mumbled that it was trifles, and Hemi was glad that she would not have to stand in line. The company entered the pavilion on the embankment. The captain asks them not to be shy and stay here. 2 men notice Yunwan and discuss him from the side. One of the men considers the mandate detachment, and Wu Henshan not in their mind, because they were humiliated by a simple jerk. Another mysterious old man is interested in, and whether this jerk is really a jerking divine dragon. It turned out to be the leader of the association. The soldiers who gossiped the old man telling the guy not to occupy the courage, because he came here after what he did. The mandate detachment beat half of its members, and they had to pay compensation to the hotel. They even missed the daughter of the leader of the King of the Demon King, Sol Ken Ik. The Heavenly Destroyer has already caused them a lot of damage, and the inhabitants of Jianghu began to look at the Association of the Northern Blade down. They cannot forgive him. The leader of the association asks Yunwan quietly, He will pay for disgrace the Northern Blade Association. The guys from the League of Five, together with Yunwan, sat in their places. The guy noticed that there are a lot of people in the arena. He is interested in whether they are all representatives of the Orthodox Path. The advisor with Cho Ne, nicknamed the Three-Eyed Heavenly Head, reached the center of the arena and declares that today they intend to discuss two things for this. The first is to destroy the forces that threaten Murim's well-being. The second, to attract talents to fulfill this most important role. So far, the demonic path is not strong, and again sowed chaos in Murim. On behalf of the Northern Blade Association, he invites him to take care of them first. Everyone in the arena rejoice and support it. Yunwan is listening to his proposal. The guy does not understand whether they really gathered so many people from Orthodox sects in order to talk about something like that. The young man asks Jonggeol who is this guy. They answer him that this is an advisor with Cho. He asks the heir to the clan Namgun is not their goal too obvious. Jonggeol agrees with him. But not anyway. No one could object without a thorough consideration. The guy is sure the Northern Blade has already enlisted the support of some sects. Their proposal is now nothing more than a formal approval. If there is some kind of variable, is how the rest of the main forces in the Orthodox path will react. The advisor shouts loudly, saying to all Murim to consider this proposal. People rejoice and agree with the subordination of the demonic path. The demon says how well the script is written. The guy agrees with him, says that it is just funny. The monk arrived at the association pavilion. Yunwan noticed that the atmosphere has completely changed. The Obipotnaya Zigun, the caretaker of the commandments of Shaolin, arrived. But for now, Jonggeol talked about this. Ian stares at Yunwan. The heavenly demon tells Juninan, it seems Jingun is his grandchildren. The monk also observes it. Jigun seems to everyone in the hall. The guy thinks that he is a representative from Shaolin, does not distinguish him from the will of the Alliance of Nine Orthodox. The monk thanks the representative of the Northern Blades for such a wonderful proposal. However, the old man does not agree with him. Everything is shocked by the words of Shaolin's caretaker. He does not deny that the proposal of the Association of the Northern Blades demonstrates the devotion of Murim's well-being. But everything obeys the laws of nature. Jigen says do not provoke members of the demonic path while they are busy with their affairs. Murim is alone when the demonic and orthodox paths are equal. Even in the most gloomy times of Murim, when the ruler was a heavenly demon, even if the generosity of these people was minimal, due to this, the orthodox path was survived. The same applies to the members of the demonic path. Moreover, once they claim that they are representatives of the orthodox path, then they cannot do such stupidity. Therefore, members of Shaolin and 9 orthodox sects oppose the proposal of the Association of Northern Blacks. Jonggeol is surprised that the alliance of 9 orthodox sects publicly and officially expressed his disagreement. Huainan is glad that Shaolin's power is still alive. And the heavenly demon is glad, because the old man knows how strong the demon was. The guy asks the heavenly demon that he was not so with him. He ruled Murim and was lonely. The heavenly demon replies that the world simply could not leave him alone. He thought about his many followers at that time. He says to Yunwan in the future to introduce him to them, with members of the heavenly demonic cult. But the young man answers, they are all dead for a long time. Jonggeol thought that only the League of 5 clans would speak out against the proposal of the Association of Northern Blades. In this case, only the coalition of the Southern Blades remained. Yunwan recalled that the guy told him the relationship between the Youth Coalition and the Northern Blades are not very good. In this case, if they also do not agree to their proposal, will be hard. Jonggeol thinks the leaders of orthodox sects will gather to achieve consensus. Since many sects have already been won, ultimately everything will go as the Northern Blade Association wants. But the fact that 3 of the 4 main forces of the orthodox path express their opposition will probably have significant consequences. As Namgun Hirokran said, the League of the 5 clan also rejected the offer of the association. The patriarch of the Habai Pan family is confident, not expressing emotions. Only the coalition of the Southern Blade remained. Even if they are opposed to that the association of the Northern Blade will achieve a consensus, a man with a huge sword stands and observes from the outside. It will simply become a solution that has no justification. In addition, the position of the Association of the Northern Blade will be significantly shaken. Therefore, the attention of all those gathered in the conference was riveted to the representative of the coalition of the Southern Blades. Yunwan notes that this person looks rather strong. Gu Ryanjim also opposes the proposal of the Association of the Northern Blade. Hu Kryun expected this and Yunwan was surprised. Gu Ryan stands together as an advisor to the Association of the Northern Blade. He asks Gup Ryan, is it not different from what they agreed before? The elder knows about this and looks at the advisor with contempt. Gu Ryan asks not to understand him incorrectly, because this is his personal opinion. The guys do not understand what he is talking about. The representative of the coalition of the Southern Blades says the opinion of their coalition as a whole in favor of the proposal of the Association of the Northern Blades. Everyone in the arena is in shock and rejoice that they united for the sake of a common cause. Gu Ryan asks with Chu whether this is enough and leaves. The advisor thinks what bastard he is because he scared him for no reason. Yunwen does not understand what the representative of the coalition of the Southern Blades is talking about, because he is personally against it, and the coalition is speaking for this. Hawkrian also thinks that it is pointless. He cannot believe that the coalition of the Southern Blades agreed with the proposal from the Association of the Northern Blades. Hemi on the representatives of both sides. She amuses her that one laughs and the other cries. Already sunset, the guys left the pavilion. Yunwan does not understand why the conference will end. The guy expected something more from her. Hakrane asks what he means. As an example, the guy leads as a person argues with another person who does not agree with your opinion. The guy does not answer all the masters of martial arts in Murima are so ruthless. If this, then he meant, should be Yunwan disappointed. The heavenly demon tells the heavenly destroyer that he agrees with him, because this jerk does not even know about the law of survival of the strongest. The guy after the words of the demon became embarrassed that he thought so. The demon thinks Yunwan should feel the true rule of Murim. The weak die, becoming the victims of the strong, and the strongest survive. He wants to teach the guy everything and make him his receiver. Hinen asks the heavenly demon, he thinks insidious thoughts in his head again. Yunwen is interested in where the orthodox path will go further, because the opinion of the four great forces is divided into two camps. Hawkreen says this will depend on the vote of each representative of the sects of the orthodox path tonight. Yunwen realizes that the demonic path will be decided by the result of the results today or not. Soldiers from the back ask the guys which of them is a jade divine dragon. Yunwen turns around and says it. The guy is interested in what they want. Soldiers say the leader of the Northern Blade Association called him and asked him to go with them. John thinks this is not polite. They must tell them the reason. Since he does not have the relationship of the soldier, he says to go to Jonhu aside. John is angry with his arrogance. Yunwen exhales, saying that he is in order. The guy understood he had no other choice except to be dragged, because it seems urgent. A soldier in the middle tells a guy what a rare young man he is, carries such nonsense, despite the fact that he knows where he is. The guy replies that everyone who came here knows what this place is. The monk Jigen apologizes for the invasion, but he is in a hurry and therefore asks to treat him with understanding. He came here in a hurry because he did not have so much time because of the upcoming vote. He heard that here is the one who inherited the mantras of the Honorable Huinan. So he came here. Soldiers do not understand what he means. The monk tells Yunwan, according to rumors, the origins of his martial arts go back to the 6th Patriarch Juanan, a great warrior. And if this is true, then the young man will be their fighting uncle. Hukryun understands him, and understands how he did not guess before that. And Yunwen is embarrassed. Huainan, the founder of Shaolin, and therefore, Yunwen can occupy a high position in Shaolin. However, if it turns out that the guy used false information, this will be considered an insult to Shaolin, and Jianggun will not be able to leave this without punishment. Yunwen feels incredible pressure from him. The heavenly demon noticed the power of the monk. Huainan also sees a large number of unbridled energy. The guy smiles and asks him how he can prove. The monk's face is replaced when Yunwen demonstrates his strength. Yunwen asks if the old man will believe him if the guy shows his skills right here. The monk says he would like to look at it. However, the old man now has no time for he has other obligations. But he asks the guy to show his arts in their main temple. The young man bows to the monk and agrees with his proposal. Jianggun says to visit their temple at any free time for a guy. The soldiers are shocked by the fact that the guy was able to take a high position in Shaolin. They are interested in who he was. The guys say, although the dispute with the Association of the Northern Blade was settled thanks to the monk, they still offended the incident with the Mandate Detachment. Yunwen wants to know what to do. Hekrian knows the power of the young master. But since this is still the territory of the Northern Blade, he asks the guy to be careful. And to be honest, it was the members of the League of the Five Clans that were initiators of the conflict. So their hearts will be calm if the guy is safe. The guy will keep this in mind and asks them not to worry. On the way back to his home, the Heavenly Destroyer was immersed in deep thought. The power sees power, and lead history was not necessarily considered righteous. But the measure of value can be different depending on the point of view. Given this moment, he had no resentment against his uncle, because the guy was weak and useless. Therefore his uncle shoved him to the side. In a sense, it was just nature taking his own. If his uncle was a tyrant, his position would have changed, but whose uncle knew was not so stupid. When the Destroyer of Heaven found the ability to calmly think about his uncle, he suddenly came to awareness. He has a balance between three personalities. He does not bother with anything. On the other hand, the current Murim is not balanced. In the world of Murim, perhaps this strange balance is the path that he should follow. The guy lies on the street at the pavilion on the embankment. He is bored. He wants to know the results of the vote. Suddenly someone sweeps past him. He noticed the elegant art of facilitating the body. But this is the association of the Northern Blade. He does not understand who it could be. Yunwen decides to chase after him. Judging by his dexterous movements, this person is really extraordinary. A mysterious man jumps directly to the 9-story pavilion of the Divine Sword. In Murim, there were only 2 people with this nickname. One of them is the current leader of the League of the 5 Clans of the Divine Sword of the Côte d'Azur Namgun Hui, and the second lord of the pavilion, the leader of the Association of the Northern Blades, the Supreme Divine Sword of the Henten Duga. He was the youngest of the 4 leaders of the great forces of the Orthodox Path, and some Murima called him the King of Swords. Of course, both the father and the son, his father, the former leader of the Association of the Northern Blade, the Emperor of Hidden Dragons to the Archgen, was also unsurpassed by force. After he handed over the post of head of the association, he suddenly disappeared, and rumors that the Emperor of Hidden Dragons to the Archgen, somewhere teaching his grandson the rising sword of the Heavenly Dragon to the Arch Wu. Regardless of this arc, Henten had complete control over the Association of the Northern Blades as its leader. Yunwen noted that the one whom he pursued entered the building, a dwelling, a very expensive building. Moreover, dozens of people are ambushed around the building. All of them are at the master level. They must be protecting a person inside the building. And if not, then they keep this man in prison. In any case, Yunwen dies of curiosity. But he does not know what to do, because if he is caught, they can take for the offender. The young man is interested in the heavenly demon, what he can do to get into the building unnoticed. Perhaps the demon has some abilities for this. The demon says, "Why this? The guy is already using this." Yunwen thinks the heavenly demon means about hidden art. But he thinks masters of this level will be able to notice it. The demon says not to underestimate his skills, and just use all his chi to bring the skill to the limit. Yunwen tells him how he is a show-off. After the heavenly destroyer burst into Jianghu, this was the first time when he used heavenly demonic hidden art at the limit. The hidden art of a heavenly demon, in which he used more than 300 years of his inner ki, allowed him to go through any place if there was a small gap, and passing by any person is unnoticed, even if he possessed strong inner ki and both eyes were open. The guy penetrates the building and looks at the one who was chasing. As expected, this person had things to do here. The girl celebrates her subordinate to Huan's. The guy gets old and welcomes his mistress. Yunwen suddenly blushes sharply with shame. Madam gets up with the bathroom hiding behind only a towel. The warrior apologizes to his mistress. The girl says it does not look like him. She does not understand why he went around and about. The lady asks to tell him everything as it is without hiding anything. Huan's tells her about a certain person who is incredibly obsessed with women and readily attacks them and kills. And in nearby villages, there are many people who are offended by him. According to rumors, the young leader of the coalition of Southern Blades is scum. The spy asks the mistress about her further plans. She cannot do anything. This marriage will be political for the sake of the union with the coalition of the Southern Blades. This will not differ from the sale of a girl with her father. Moreover, her marriage partner will be a scum. Yunwen, hearing this, realized that this was the daughter of the leader of the Association of the Northern Blades. Now the guy realized why the representative of the coalition of the Southern Blades made such a remark. He is shocked by the fact that they will unite with the help of marriage. Judging because he heard her groom a real piece of shit, the guy does not understand whether the leader of the Association of the Northern Blade will give his daughter to such a person. The young man thinks about his composure. Huan's in the place of the lady would refuse it. The girl asks her subordinate whether he will help him to escape her if she wants. The warrior confidently replies that his duty is to protect her and he will always be next to her. The lady thanks him and tells him to go, she wants to be alone. Huan's using his skills quickly left her. After he left, the girl exhaled, sat down on a hand and cried. The guy is sorry for her. He can understand the helplessness of the girl, since he himself was like that. Aimlessly drifting in the whirlwind of fate, he could only cry. Yunwen tried his best to stay in the balance. Fortunately, he was then saved by a happy chance left by his grandfather. The guy does not understand what to do. He wants to help this lady. The girl wants her older brother to be here. Yunwen approaches a sobbing girl. She screams and shouts who he is. The young man uses spotless, harmless blows. The lady noticed that her body was paralyzed and she could not move. The young man assures the girl that she does not want her evil and does not want to hurt. He seems to be a jade divine dragon. Tracking the night wanderer, he accidentally ended up here. He accidentally heard about her situation and decided to help her. Now Yunwen will relieve pressure from the points and asks it not to scream. Since her points are blocked, she cannot express her opinion. After I unlocked her points, she jumped up from the chair and wanted to give him a slap in the face. The lady notices his speed. Yunwen asks her should he have answered this slap in the face. She asks his name and is interested in whether he understands at all what he is doing now. The guy apologizes that he was a little extreme, but he was serious when he talked about help. The young man would say better if she corrected her clothes. But it does not look like him that she was going to scream. The girl corrected her robe and is interested in how a guy can help her. Yunwen does not know how, but he can do everything she asks. She asks him for sure whether everything is. The guy confirms, telling her simply to say, but he will perform it right away. The lady does not understand who he is, because he simply appeared from where he offers his help to the stranger. It depends on how he, without any problems, penetrated the monastery of Waterfire. She understands he is not an ordinary person. She is not sure that she can trust someone like him. She smiles and grinned lightly. The young man does not understand what is ridiculous in this. More recently, she hung on a thread. It was quite funny to watch how she was thinking when a rope suddenly fell in front of her. Yunwen does not understand what threads and rope she talks. Whether it is a strong rope or thin thread, she offers a guy to slowly check it into practice. Her name is the Ark of Asandi. If he can withdraw her from the association of the Northern Blade, the girl will be forever grateful to him. The guy understood and asks her to wear comfortable clothes, because they are going right now. The girl cannot leave now and asks the young man to come tomorrow at the same time. He does not understand why tomorrow and not today. Meanwhile, in the pavilion on the embankment happened, which the Heavenly Destroyer did not expect. Ian came to his chambers. She does not understand why he had not yet returned to the pavilion. They returned together. She checked it every 15 minutes. But he was still not there. Ian thought that those guys from the Northern Blade Association abducted the guy and ran to her brother. Hycrian thought so, they should be more attentive. The young man then noticed that these guys were not good. Lived. He blames himself for not notice that these soldiers were not one of those who immediately retreat and allowed a mistake. Jean asks Hukran what they can come up with. They must inform the guy's disappearance of this minute. Namgun Hirokran immediately announced the disappearance of the guy by the masters of the League of Five Clans. Also, the news was taken to the Union of Nine Orthodox. Jegan thought so. He did not believe that they would act directly in front of the monk. If Yunwan really inherited the mantras of Grand Master Huainan, then most people in the Association of the Northern Blade will be able to cope with this. Nevertheless, the fact that the young man just disappears, that the leader of the association may be directly involved in this business, a subordinate monk, asks how to be. Jagun wants to start just watching the situation for starters and not rushing. Hukryun tells them a small conflict with the commander of the Mandate Detachment of the Association of the Northern Blades, in the hotel. Habaipan thinks a guy could become a victim of a conspiracy of the Northern Blade Association. Suddenly someone shouts to them. They all turn around in shock. The king of the poor arrived. He asks them who became a victim of whom. The old man asks to tell him everything in detail. The leader of the Association of the Northern Blades of the Arkhenton does not understand what the leader of the great gang forgot here. This old man has never appeared in his eyes since the father of the current leader left his post. The man does not understand what would suddenly come to the leader of the poor here. Suddenly he pulled in a panic. One of the soldiers does not understand, even if this is the head of a large gang, why the leader is in a hurry. The second says to him he does not know anything. The head of the great gang and the previous leader of the association, the emperor of hidden dragons, the best friends who are associated with special relations. Even from the point of view of the position, the leader of the gang is older in rank in Murim, so the leader of the association jumped out into the street barefoot. The man asks the old man to calm down, because they already conduct searches throughout the Association of the Northern Blades. The leader of the gang reports the leader of the association like a child. The old man does not understand how 15,000 soldiers cannot find one person. He states that if something happens to this person, even if he has to mobilize all 100,000 poor soldiers, not a single blade of grass or the tile will be ignored in the Association of the Northern Blades. The leader of the association does not understand who this guy is, since the leader of the gang calls him this man, and the venerable Jagun also probably knows that the man called Yunwan. The man does not understand why, even if circumstances arouse suspicion, he does not say anything. He also heard rumors that the guy inherited the mantras of the master of Juinyan. If this is true, he does not understand why Shaolin still did not raise the noise. A man who sits next to a monk does not understand who this guy was, such a noise because of him. Pan grins over the Ark Henton because he was always on top, and now stands like a boy. The old man asks Pan at whom he mocks, and why his father did not teach him manners. The man quickly apologizes to the elder. Meanwhile, Yunwen was already approaching the pavilion on the promenade. He does not understand why the girl decided tomorrow. The guy hopes she will not substitute him. The heavenly demon is interested in whether the heavenly destroyer is going to do what this lady tells him. The demon thinks he fell in love with her, and it is strange that she entrusted such an important task to a person who is familiar with so little. The guy tells the heavenly demon not to understand her, but let him try to understand the guy. Moreover, he does not want to think that these eyes were lying to him. The demon screams about the meaninglessness of love, and considers the guy a fool, because the girl in the future can make him an enemy. Yunwen says this is not his business. Huainan is silent, and the demon continues to be angry. That's why the demon does not trust such young, but you can't waste time to make the demon's name known to the whole Murim again. The guy asks the soldier why they all fuss so much. The man replies that because of one missing person, an order was issued on an extremely situation of the first level, and they must find him, but do not even know his face. The young man realized that they were looking for him. The leader of the association asks an advisor about the news. He answers him that there is nothing so far. Pan does not consider this a problem. He and the advisor had a skirmish about the disappearance of the guy. From what Peng heard, the association was humiliated on his part, so they wanted to take it. The old man shouts to them or already fight. Yunwen entered the pavilion and asks everyone what was happening here. The head of the gang falls into his knees, calling him a master. All leaders are in shock. They do not understand why the old man refers to Yunwen. The guy asks the leader of the gang to get up. The leader of the association knows that the leader of the gang, Pang Chongho, is one of the strongest elders Murim of this era, both by name and in fact, and this great leader of the gang just knelt down. A man cannot understand who this young man really is. Yunwen asks Panga to do something, because everyone is now configured with suspicion. The old man twists, saying that because of the experiences, he escaped to call him his master. The guy plays along with him. The great leader of the gang has always treated him like a native grandson. The leader of the gang was worried about the guy. Everyone in the hall does not understand what is happening. The guy apologizes to all members of the Alliance Murim for making them worry. The leader of the Association of the Northern Blade offers to leave this commotion aside and go to another place. They all gathered at the table with food. The banquet began and went in a friendly atmosphere, and yet there were two people who were uneasy, as if they were sitting on pillows of spikes. The crap is bewildered, and does not understand what he forgot here. And Yunwen was also worried, so they also gave him an honorable place. Thanks to the My Master of the King, the poor Peng Chongho, the great leader of the gang of the poor, and these two were invited to the feast, along with the masters of each sect. Of course, all the attention was focused on the heavenly destroyer of heaven, but he calmly looked away. The guy thinks at such a pace on his face a hole will appear. The leader of the Association of the Northern Blade does not understand what past the guy has, since the king himself calls him my master. Pan asks Hukryun whether he personally saw how the guy uses martial arts. The young man confirms this. The guy is disappointed that the situation is already complicated. For Hukryun, this was an amazing experience to see how the lost skills of the great Huanian are used right before his eyes. Yunwen refers, saying that he was just lucky to meet such a person. Moreover, the venerable Jiagan did not confirm his skills. The leader of the bandits says if this is confirmed by the young man, we'll be able to take the highest status in Shaolin. But the young man does not intend to accept such an appeal. The monk adds what the great leader of the gang said correctly. The sixth ancestor, Huainan, the great battle uncle of their temple. In case of confirmation, Yunwen will receive an appeal in Shaolin at the level of the monk Zhenggun. The leader of the Association of the Northern Blade and the Coalition of the Southern Blade in shock from such a development of events. After the story that the Destroyer of Heaven can get the same appeal as Zhenggun, all at the banquet became even more interested in. Pan does not think that this is not very different from taking the highest position in Murim's orthodox sects. Yunwen asks not to speak like that, because he is just a beginner who had just come to Jianghu. The leader of the association does not understand where this guy came from. The rumors went only about martial arts. The man did not think that the guy would be the heir to the mantra of the great master Juinanan. Shaolin is the spiritual support of Murim's orthodox path. Their connections go beyond the scope of the imagination, and the gang of beggars and rumors has the largest forces and the intelligence network in Murim. A man really needs their help to conquer Murim. The leader of the association is glad that he did not contact Yunwen. because this could go into a huge headache. He needs to convince this guy in order to maintain a good relationship with the gang leader. At such moments, the leader of the association regrets that he has no other daughter. At that time, everyone was absorbed in their thoughts. The name Wenjun was printed among each of the masters of each sect. And the result of voting, which was difficult to determine, ended with the result of 70% in favor of the proposal of the Northern Blade. Since there was no reason for the opposition, all power was transferred to the Northern Blade Association. For the first time in a 1,000-year history, the moment came when the orthodox sects announced the conquest of the demonic path. And at that moment, the most powerful group in the history of Murim, the Alliance Murim of the Righteous Way, was born. Yunwen asks the demon to learn how to use the sword, because tonight the uprising in which he participates, and now that he has his own swords, he wants to learn how to use them. The heavenly demon replies that when it comes to swords, he is the best. He tells the guy to wave the sword in the air. Now do everything possible to send the sword as far as possible. The young man launched the sword into a flight. The demon screams to return it back. Yunwen worries and does not understand how to do it. The sword rotating stuck in a bamboo branch. The heavenly demonic sword can even pierce the iron, but now the young man cannot use it even to cut a bamboo. Since the sword flew 31 meters, the internal energy of Qi Yunwan broke off, and therefore the sword was in such a position. So far, it was the limit of the guy's inner ki. At such a level, what he just did was nothing more than fencing. The young man does not understand the demon's speech. The heavenly demon asks him that, according to Yunwen, is the highest level of ownership of the sword. The guy notes that the demon was seriously reacted to the role of the teacher. He knows little about it. The highest level, in other words, the area in which the true ki is fully connected to the energy of the universe through the sword. And when it reaches the highest level, he can have the true power of ki control sword. Yunwen does not understand the examples of the demon. The heavenly demon says there is nothing complicated in this. But for now, he invites him to first reach the level of an intangible sword. The young man is practiced in the possession of the sword. He thinks this time he managed to apply the reinforced Kuai sword. The demon is still unhappy. The current reinforced ki of the sword cannot destroy the powerful curtain of the sword. The heavenly demon tells him to embroider his reinforced ki sword, turning it into a gust of a sword. Yunwen concentrates the power of Qi in his hand. He uses a powerful surge in energy. The demon is hardly believed that the guy immediately performed a rush of the sword. The young man is completely exhausted after training and asks from the heavenly demon what level he could achieve. The level of his skill was outside the intangible sword. The guy is surprised, judging by how the demon said this, so there are several areas outside this. The sphere that goes beyond the intangible sword and turns part of the nature into ki swords is called the Sword of Nature. Yunwen thinks he jokes. He does not understand how it is. But the heavenly demon does not joke. He asks him to imagine that he turns rainwater into the rain from ki of the sword of the army into hundreds of thousands of people was destroyed in an instant. And one can also do this with other weather phenomena. The guy does not believe that this is possible. The demon assures him in the opposite. The demon cannot explain to him the next level of the sphere, he just thought about it. A young man is interesting whether there is a sphere outside the intangible sword and sword of nature, and is it possible at all? The heavenly demon speaks of the ecumenical sword and considers this sphere definitely exists. Nevertheless, this is not what is worried about Yunwen at the moment, when he will become strong enough to attract the attention of these people. Yunwen does not understand who he is talking about. He thinks this master of martial arts. The demon claims that they are not part of Murim. The heavenly demon tells the guy that they should unite into a single whole no matter what. The young man is in shock because the head of the Northern Blade Association invited only him to lunch. The guy knew that he would be interested in even more after the words of the poor Pang and the venerable Jiangun. Who would have thought that the leader of the association would show such an initiative? Yunwen wants to take this chance. The Hentons Arc specially prepared something for their two today. The man hopes this will not cause the guy inconvenience. Yunwen thanks him for inviting him here. The guy considers this place magnificent to such an extent that he almost wants to join them. The leader of the association thinks if he cannot get rid of the young man, he will have to accept him. The man answers the guy that if he decides to really stay with them, then for him, they will be able to build a new pavilion of the divine sword. The guy jokes, saying that you should not build a new pavilion, and the leader can just move. Hentian smiles back, but he thinks about the arrogance of the guy and does not want to give his pavilion. Yunwen says this just a joke. He also notes that a man is good at talking, not about what he thinks. Having made this path, probably Yunwen was hungry. The leader of the association invited him to the table. The guy is in shock because he never saw such dishes. When he was fed the emperor 3 times a day, given that there are many dishes whose ingredients could not even know. The association leader should be an extravagant life. The man asks him to be treated. He can assure that their cooks are more talented than the cook of the imperial palace. The leader of the association asks everyone to treat himself. He assures that his cooks are more talented than the emperor himself. Yunwen angrily asks, "Really?" He begins to be angry for no reason. He asks if they intend to seize the Syndicate of the demonic path. The man replies that this issue has already been resolved during the vote of orthodox sects. This is what all the inhabitants of Jianghu want, so they have no other choice but to follow this. The guy considers him a vile bastard because it was his initiative. He is interested in whether they have a specific plan. The leader of the association says this will happen when the Murim's alliance will be formed. He thinks that this will take at least a year. The base of the demonic cult is located in Hangzhou, but they have secret branches scattered throughout the territory. So for complete disposal of them it may need more time. The guy asks whether the alliance of Murim will be dissolved after the Syndicate of the demonic path is destroyed. The Henton's arc realize that the guy wants to probe him. He answers him that they would decide it when the time would come. However, he sincerely hopes that the alliance will remain as a single organization. It would be better for Murim's calm. Yunwan thinks that this is probably not done for Murim's well-being, but for the sake of Hentian's own benefit. But he replied that he understands. The guy is interested in whether there are some more variables. A man says there is talk that a member of a heavenly demonic cult appeared. The young man and heavenly demon are surprised. And to be precise, he is called the Heavenly Destroyer. His skills in martial arts are similar to the skills of an ancient heavenly demonic cult. The guy realized that we were talking about him, but he pretended that he had not heard anything about it. Since there are many strange rumors about the existence of a heavenly demonic cult, they do not have the opportunity to test the reliability of these rumors. Yunwan asks the heavenly demon about what he was thinking about. The demon replies that this is not entirely true. The leader of the association asks the young man to work together for the justice of Murim. The man claims that their new alliance desperately needs such talents as Yunwen. If he wants, he assures them a position that is below one person above 10,000 people in Murim's alliance. The young man noticed that Hentian imagines himself the leader of the alliance Murim, and realizes that they want to make him as a pawn. The guy is very flattering to hear such words about himself, but he should consider this decision and asks him to give him a little time. Hentian sees the strong spirit of the guy, in which case he simply says that he respects the young man very much and calls him a great warrior. The leader of the alliance clicks with his fingers. The guy does not understand what was the matter. He called his daughter to him. Yunwen in shock, he cannot understand what a man wants this time. The leader of the alliance asks her what she is doing and why does not welcome their guest. The girl recognized him but seems to him. The guy understood Henton's plan. He also appears to the girl, and for him a great honor will meet her. Hentian smiles. He thinks his plan will work. The man asks the Jade Dragon what he thinks of Zulan. He says this not because she is his daughter, but she definitely does not need anything. Yunwen is horrified by a man. He cannot even imagine how many people he already tried to give his daughter. The guy is embarrassed. He saw a lot of beauties in Jianghu, but he sees such as Zulan for the first time. The girl is also embarrassed and blushing. The young man applies a sound program and reminds the girl about the meeting. She does not understand where the voice comes from. Since the leader for 19 years, he must give her to someone to marry. But whoever he could not give her, and hints at Yunwan. Yunwen says they are flattered. But since they showed such attention to him, he will do everything possible in his power to support the leader of the association. The leader thinks the young man pecked at his trick. The guy leaves, because his companions are already waiting. The man apologizes to him for detaining him for so long. He says goodbye to the mistress and says that they will meet again. The man asks for not worried about this guy, behave well, and prepares for the wedding, which will take place the next spring. She asks for whom, after all, she marries. Her father screams and replies that she had already told her that she was going out for the young leader of the coalition of the South Blade. The girl wants to object to him. It seems she liked Yunwan, but the leader of the association viciously shouts and orders to leave to her and do what he tells her. People have fun at the festival. One of them says that the banquet will continue until tomorrow, since the decision to destroy the demonic path has been achieved. Yunwen, using the ability to hide, approaches the monastery of water and fire. The subordinate mistress asks if the girl in this person is sure. As soon as she disappears throughout Kaifeng, searches will begin. Zulan understands the anxiety of the Huans, but she believes that everything will be fine. Yunwan is secretly in the room and hears their conversation. He does not like that the girl had already told everything to her subordinate. The heavenly demon asks the guy to leave until it is worse. He replies that he is a man and cannot help but fulfill his promise. Zulan does not understand why he does not come. Juans thinks he was frightened after his boast. The young man immediately found himself next to her subordinate. She does not understand how he could get to her so close. She did not notice this. The guy recognized the eyes of the Juans. He asks her unless she rushed through a gallop along the street on a dark horse. Fans found out, calling him crazy. He answers what she did with the horse was even more crazy. She takes off her hood. The girl cannot leave her mistress to such a reckless person. Yunwen ignored her. He does not understand what she was talking about and why she took off the mask. The guy asks the mistress whether she is ready. The girl asks him for another minute. He asks her what kind of bag it is. She says this clothes and some jewelry. The young man says to leave it all here and just follow him. Zulan is awkward and she agrees. He also asks Juans whether she will go with them. The subordinate mistress is seriously configured and of course she will go. The guy asks the same thing with Zulan. The girl replies that Havans is the closest person for her, and she does not understand why this is impossible. Yunwen is not going to take care of her subordinate, therefore says it is better not to go with them. Juans is able to take care of herself and reminds the young man about his promise. Seeing how he quietly crept up to her, the girl is sure that he was a master of martial arts, but he is too annoying. She calls him Mr. Expert and is interested in his plan. The guy replies that he has no plan and he will just leave. Juan says if you rejected her and Yunwan, her lady does not own martial arts. The young man says it does not matter. He will simply take her away and leave. Juan's replies that he will not be able to avoid an ambush around the Monastery of Waterfire holding Zulan. The guy thinks her words have some sense. He asks the mistress to approach him for a minute. She does not understand why this is. They stand close to each other. The girl blushes. Yunwen conceived something and asks the heavenly demon whether this will work. The demon answers confidently. But this will last only 15 minutes. The young man believes this will be enough. The guy asks Zulan and Juans to listen carefully to what he will say now. Juans is angry with the guy because he dared to call her mistress unofficially. But Zulan smiles and thinks for some reason she does not feel hatred for him. Yunwen will change her face on the face of another person, and then she will calmly leave with the Juans, and as soon as they leave the ambush around the Monastery of a Waterfire, he will take the mistress and run. Observation is carried out only for the Monastery of Waterfire, and not behind other areas. In addition, a banquet passes today, so the protection will be even weaker. The girl does not understand how to change her face. She does not want her face to change. Yunwan tells her not to worry, because it will return to its original state in 15 minutes. Juans asks if he's going to use the art of transformation. The guy thinks the girl faced this before. Juans already said that her lady was not strong in martial arts. The guy is not deaf and therefore told her to listen to her. Yunwen asks to call one of the maids. Call the one who often comes to the water monastery. He needs to see her face. And when everything will be ready, he will show the girls a rare technique. The maid asks Juans what happened. The girl answers it only a minute. She apologizes to Gim Ien for calling her so late. She just needs to stand a little. The woman is worried. Juans is not sure that this will work. But since it can be hidden so that she does not notice his presence, then in general it is possible. Using a sound gear, the guy tells Juans that he finished and tells her to take the maid. Juans tells Gimen that now everything is in order and she can return back to bed. The maid noticed that Madame Juans is behaving strangely today. He and Seyulan are sitting opposite each other, and Juan stands nearby and observes. The guy directs Chi his hand and touches the girl's face. Her face was completely changed to the face of GMEN. Yunwen shouts to Juans that there is no time to be surprised and tells her to put the clothes and hairstyle of the mistress in order. Juans asks Suelen how she feels. The girl does not understand her anxiety. She just thinks her mistress is too willing to follow Yunwan. If Father Zulan could not get rid of a person, then he did everything possible to arrange him to himself and extract maximum benefits from him. He is one of those who will do everything to achieve his goals. His blood also flows in her veins. While she can break out of the Northern Blade Association, she will accept help from any person. Now Juans understood her intentions. The confidence of Zulan is what makes her respect. Suddenly something jumps out of the water. The girls stop. One of them asks where the girls go so late at night. She needs to go somewhere. She tells them to get out of the road, because this is the order of her mistress. Men say after midnight here it is forbidden to appear. Juans once again repeats that this is the order of the lady. He just tells her about the rules, and they can pass. Juans tells Jem Yu to follow her. The guard did not notice the attractiveness of Gim Ien before. The second tells him not to carry nonsense and prepare for the change. Using a sound gear, the young man directs Juans. She does not understand where he speaks and looks around. The guy orders her not to waste time on his search and tells her to go for a large tree. She looks up, they say they arrived and asks where he is. Suddenly Yunwan appears in front of them and grabs the girl. He asks to make Huan's everything that is in her power and follow him. The young man bounced high up with Zulan. Huan's in shock, but she comes to her senses because there is no time to behave like that, and she needs to start following him. Yunwan, starting from the air, takes her away. The girl notices that a pleasant smell comes from the guy. He asks Suelin where she would like to go. The girl wants to go to the headquarters of the gang of beggars. The guy is surprised. She says she has ties with the great gang leader. Yunwan heard her and accelerated. The girl grabbed him stronger. The young man landed at the temple of Guangdi and asks Li the girl in order. Huan's. The guy was running after them all the time. The guy asks her why she was so long. She has a big short of breath because she ran with all her strength. The guy says to listen carefully. He wants to return to the banquet hall. Girls are shocked by his words. The leader of the association will not be able to assume that he delivered Zulan in such a short time, because right now, it causes the smallest suspicion. Yunwan tells them to tell them that they were brought here by a jade divine dragon and girls an example. Fortunately, Zulan has ties with the leader of the gang. In any case, he asks them to do everything possible to hide, and he will come to them when the time comes. He soars into the sky. The girls again notice his speed. The guy impatiently wants to look at the expression on the face of the leader of the Northern Blade Association. Hook, the drunk one, asks Wenjin why he came only now. After all, the guys decided to drink before dawn. John and Hukrin barely stand on their feet. The young man realized that they were drunk in the insole. Yunwan could not forget this and offers them to start right now. Ayn drinks and has fun with the young man. Jean and Hukrin laugh loudly and have fun. He should have fun and talk with the same number of people as possible, since they will witness his innocence. Jean notices that the guy is not only a good warrior, but also drinks well. He jokes and asks what he cannot do. Jean speaks to cleanliness. At first he hated the guy because of his lies. The great warrior Wenyun can drink and fight. The guy realized that John was already succumbing. He respects Yunwan and is glad to meet a person like him. Yunwan is saying a meeting with the guys the best that happened to him when he only arrived in Murim. John rushes in a hug to the guy. Hakornan offers a young man if he does not have any plans to go to the League of Five Clans with them. The young man replies that he will need to go somewhere after he leaves this place. He is very sorry. But the guy promises to visit the League 5 Clans later. The guys raise glasses for their friendship. The leader of the Association of the Northern Blade screams and does not understand how his daughter Lan could disappear. According to the results of the investigation, the probability that the mistress was abducted by outsiders is practically absent. Hentian does not understand what kind of nonsense it is. The advisor thinks Lan left of his own free will. The Hall of Water Swamps is responsible for protecting the Monastery of Waterfire. In their opinion, it is impossible to abduct the young mistress, leaving no traces under their supervision. Moreover, yesterday, according to the guards, a man named Huan's and the maid of Jem Yun left the Monastery of Waterfire together. But as soon as they went to interrogate the maid, she claimed that she was not only not with the Huans, but did not go out at all. The leader of the association thinks someone used the masking technique. The advisor says this is the art of transformation. The man is completely stunned. Madam never possessed martial arts, means either a HVs or someone else applied the art of transfiguration to her. Since the Huans is not capable of the association believes that the third lady is replaced in this case. If he is an expert of this level, then he should be at least a representative of the 3 main clans or the leader of the main fractions. But they all drank last night. The man orders to carefully investigate and before receiving new evidence, is considered to be considered as suspects. And it does not matter what they will have to do, he tells him to find guilty at all costs. Some unknown in a cloak with a hood somewhere in the dungeon asks the overseer whether the one whom they try. The man answers positively, but this person barely breathes. The man asks what about the grandson, the overseer. No matter how much he tortures, he does not open his mouth and he is quite tenacious. It looks like a guy in a cloak will have to meet him himself and tells Grimmel to take him to him. He stands opposite a naked person with long gray hair chained to the chains. The unknown admits that the old man and his grandson are really persistent. The guy says that the old man's granddaughter escaped last night, which means this old man Father Henton and the former leader of the Northern Blade Association disappeared under mysterious circumstances. The man asks for a girl some assistant. It cannot be that a girl named Juan's had such abilities. The old man answers the guy, calling him a crazy bastard, and says if he received it, he lost. The man tells the hidden emperor of the dragons that his son is already dead, and the condition of the grandson is not very different. And this means that only Lan remained in his family. A man in a cloak asks the old man if he does not think that his duty is to save his granddaughter. The emperor of dragons with hopelessness says that this is fate, and he tells the man to do what he wants. The unknown replies that the Arc-Gen is heartless. He is interested in whether this bitch knows how her grandfather applies to her. The man claims that under the pretext of conquering the demonic path, the Association of the Northern Blade will soon plunge Zhang-Hu in the sea of blood, and the Association of the Northern Blades will sharply criticize for his act. The old man tells the guy what bastard he is, and asks whether he is satisfied with this. The man thinks the old man means the absolute scripture of the sword. He came to the conclusion that they never had a sword of absolute scripture at their disposal. This is only an invention invented to ensure their survival. After the death of the Arc-Gen and his grandson, this place will be buried, and there will be no trace of his existence. The old man is angry with him and again calls him a bastard. Suddenly the hood takes off, and it turns out the Hentites. But it is not clear whether he is or the one who took his face after his death. People rebelled. They do not understand why they stopped them and consider it not normal that the Association of the Northern Blade behaves like that. The guards say they conduct a small investigation. Even if people do not feel deftly, the guard asks to cooperate with them for a while. People mean why they were not told at least the causes. They call the association a dishonest group. Despite the fact that people were categorically against because of an unclear explanation, the association conducted a thorough investigation, not paying attention to the words of people. Among the significant number of people, they began to sort out and explore everyone who was listed as missing, from 11 in the evening to 3 in the morning. In the course of the investigation, the queue reached the Heavenly Destroyer. The investigator asks Yunwan where he was and what he was doing during this period of time. The guy asks whether he should speak. The man grinks, says if it was not something shameful, then it is not necessary to hide it. Or there are some reasons why the guy cannot say this. The young man so feels offended by the way the investigation is underway, and he is also accused of some crime. Yunwan calls the investigator a bastard, and if he wants to listen to his story, let him call the alliance leader here. The guard cries and does not understand how the young man dares to talk like that. The guy says this guard behaves impudently and offers him to check. The demon invites the guy to run away because he is not going to fight. Yunwan has a plan, so he asks the demon to wait, because he thinks that they will first make a mistake. Another member of the association asks the guy how he dares to mention the leader of the association. Yunwan meets him again, as last time he asked him to accompany him. He says who he was to tell him something like that. The guy's name is Heon. He is the commander of hundreds of heavenly swords of the Association Northern Blade. And now he asks Yunwan to answer the question. The guy has already said that if they want to hear his story, let them bring here the leader of the Association of the Northern Blades. The guard will not stand it and attacks the young man with his sword. Yunwan deftly fingers the sword with his fingers, saying that this is too slow. The guy blocks his attack again, this time his elbow. The demon offers him to use his sword. The young man thinks it would be a waste of time against such jerks. The guy throws the guard with his foot aside, and uses the sculpture of the indestructible moon. Yunvanin imprinted him in the ground. The strong survive, the weak die, only the overwhelming power dominates. He asks Yang herself if he did everything he could, and belittles his abilities. Yang himself wants to kill Yunwan. The leader of the association finishes his foot with his foot on his head and says his subordinates did not know yet, so they could not recognize the guy. He asks to find mercy in his heart and forgive his people. A guy with a serious look using quick movement through the air leaves from there. With the advent of the leader of the Association of the Northern Blade, the Heavenly Destroyer got the opportunity to leave. Thanks to this, he managed to avoid a sensitive situation. However, the guy felt a disgust for the cruelty of Henton's arc, which contradicted his attitude towards him. The Heavenly Demon asks the guy what is wrong with him. The demon thinks the young man in a bad mood because of yesterday. The more Yunwan thinks about Hentian, the more he is angry with him. He not only used the marriage of his own daughter in order to gain power, but also treated his subordinates as dogs. The fact that this person has the greatest influence among the four main forces looks ridiculous. The demon does not understand that this is that at the top there is a strong man, not a good guy. He tells him not to say that he decided to become an apostle of justice and thinks it because of that girl named Shuelan. Yunwan is not talking about that, but for the demon it sounds that way. The young man informs the Heavenly Demon and Juainan that after the Great Banquet, he wanted to strengthen his influence. The Heavenly Demon does not understand. Huyanan thought the guy just walks to live freely in Murim. He thinks it will be difficult to enjoy freedom if he is alone. The demon agrees with him, saying that the young man is absolutely right. Before the demon made his name, it was difficult to engage in every little thing alone. Later, when he created a heavenly demonic cult, he was helped to deal with all annoying things. Yunwan agrees with his words, because as his influence will become smaller and fewer people who want to enter the battle with him. The demon asks how the young man intends to expand his influence. He thinks the young man decided to enlist the support of the League of Five Clans, or Shaolin. The guy does not want to strengthen his influence when the Association of the Northern Blade claims to be a representative of the righteous path. The young man asks the heavenly demon whether the heavenly demonic cult exists. The heavenly demon shuddered and replied that he was not sure. He does not understand what he is not sure of, and his reaction to mention the cult leader of the alliance was incomprehensible. The demon calls the figure for 1,700 years. Yunwan does not understand what he spoke about. So many years have passed since he was their leader. The guy is shocked by this. When he heard the story of Yunwan, he had no doubt that the sect of heavenly demons would disappear. But after he heard what he said to the Henton's Ark, he changed his mind. The guy thought the demon talks about him, and he meant rumors regarding the cult. The heavenly demon replies that they could call him a heavenly destroyer, but they never said that he was a member of the heavenly demonic cult. Despite the fact that the heavenly demonic cult is just a legend, it seems people still talk about it without realizing it. In fact, rumors are very contagious and not constant. Yunwan asked Huainan that the demon had in mind. The old man thinks that rumors spread quickly, but do not live long. The fact that rumors still go, regardless of whether they are reliable or not, it means someone has seen something like a demonic cult. That is, the demon accepts that only rumor about the heavenly demonic cult to say that it still exists. He is hidden and strong. Although he does not reveal himself, he definitely exists. If the offspring from the heavenly demonic cult followed the teachings of the heavenly demon, then they definitely still exist. Yunwan tells him to stop talking and already finding this cult. He calls the heavenly demon. He awkwardly answers the guy. The young man asks him if he is sure that where people came to where they came, because these are snowy mountains with strong winds. Yunwan thinks in this area no one would live. The demon replies that in this case all his followers have long been dead. The guy blushed his face from the cold. He offers his spirits to check if there is someone here or not. He, using his skills, notices someone in the distance. If not for snow, it would be easier to find members of the sect of heavenly demonic cult. Suddenly he realized something. The guy does not understand how he had not thought of that before. The demon does not understand him, and the monk Huainan seems to understand that Yunwan meant. Having gained full chest of air, he exhales him very much. But this did not work and the snow still goes. The heavenly demon in Huainan is annoyed. The young man went into a narrow cave and passes between the rocks. Yunwan feels how warm energy comes from here, and the hand of a person is clearly visible here, because tiles are laid there. Some time later, he screams and does not understand where these members of the cult is enough from him, and the young man decides to stop the search. He does not know that this is a huge labyrinth, and the guy stands right in the middle of him. The demon asks if Yunvanin was foolish, because he has already found what needed. The young man does not understand what he is about. The demon tells him to look at that stone that lies behind him. 3 demonic masks are drawn on the stone. Yunwan asks the demon what kind of sign it is. The demon says these symbols that all his followers know, and there should be a mechanism that can be activated nearby. The guy finds it. He presses the levers, first the 3rd, then the 5th. Yunwan says this is not so simple. The guy felt for a suitable combination and opened the passage to the bottom. Yunwan is in amazement and does not understand how the forest can be underground. It seems that this cave is connected by tunnels with other places. The demon also notices this. He could expect this from his followers. Suddenly, the guy was alert and applied the technique of hiding the traces of the heavenly demon. He noticed people ahead. These are 2 young girls like each other. A red-haired girl is interested in who is winning. Maybe she means a duel or a certain tournament. A girl with turquoise hair says that the outcome will still decide the demon alder. Krasnovo, haired, does not know, but hopes when it ends they will be able to leave here after that. However, if a bloody demon wins, then they will not be able to get to Chonvon. Girls want to go to Jongvon and see with the young master Okinrin, all Murim. Yunwan is interested in who they are about. He believes that this is some kind of popular type. The guy asks the heavenly demon to him is this sect. The demon replies, this is the lesser that could be expected from his followers. They have not a bad collection of weapons and the unlimited potential of warriors. The young man considers him a boost, but you should move on. He runs past the building and notices it. In his opinion, it does not look bad, and you need to go there. The guy glances into the room where the girl lies, and next to her, a guy sits on a squat. The girl speaks even if the demon alder loses. It will not change anything. She asks the young master will stand the side of the winner. Yunwen and the demon notice the beauty of the girl. The heavenly demon says to him a cool sect. She says, however, the demon alder from the northern palace wants to take control of everything. But so far the Yiliui family covers their back. In addition, Doomday and Guyan are not so close. In the end, everything leads to the fact that the Northern Palace will receive all power. She tells the guy to convey this to her brother, the demon of a frowning sky, that everything will go according to their plan. Yunwan thinks all these families and clans something on the likeness of the League of Five Clans only in a demonic sect. The young man understood and says that he will go. The lady asks him to wait. She asks his name. The guy's name is Ilyui Jung-un. The girl says he could have her nephew, so she orders him to massage her legs. Trying to massage her feet, the guy gets a kick on the face from the girl. She says how miserable he is and drives him out. The young man, sparkling with heels, runs away. The girl thinks what kind of moron he is. Suddenly, Yunwan disperses his technique and finds himself right over the girl, asks her as about him. She was frightened by his appearance. The guy cannot believe that in this sect there is such a beauty. They look at each other without taking his eyes off. Yunwan does not understand her nervous or not and why she looks at him so closely. The girl calls him a baby and asks if he wants to massage her legs. He was embarrassed, and the heavenly demon does not understand how she dares to say that to him. The heavenly demon thinks she perfectly reads the language of the body and apparently uses the technique to maintain youth. The guy agrees and asks her only to allow. She, with a grin, tells him to start. But Yunwan, using his combat skills, paralyzes its energy points, as he used to do with Xuanlan. Using a sound program, he tells her to honestly answer the questions that he will put her. The young man paralyzed the girl with such a speed that she did not even have time to react. She does not understand who the guy really was. Yunwan seems to call himself a student and receiver of a heavenly demon. He sees that she does not believe him, but he asks if he could get into the sect's shelter without the help of a demon. She believes every word of such a handsome man. The young man does not understand what she blushed. With a plus, he did not leave the energy trace, which speaks in favor of Yunwan's thought. The heavenly demon asks the guy to demonstrate his abilities to the girl, because it is better to see once than to hear 100 times. The guy asks her to see, and now she will see the receiver, he is a heavenly demon or not. There are 3 combat techniques that the heavenly demon did not give to his disciples, namely 3 swords of the heavenly dragon and the destruction of Asura. And also the 3rd technique, the guy asks her to watch carefully. He, using the energy of Qi of the heavenly demon, directs her in the leg and hits her floor. The 3rd technique is called the limbo of the heavenly demon. He applied it. She is surprised and counts copies. There are 12 of them. The girl heard only legends about this ability. She realized that the guy did not lie, that he was a receiver of a heavenly demon, but she still does not understand how possible. Yunwan dispelled his clones and realized the girl's face that she believed him, and the energy points should already be unlocked. The lady clears and asks if he's true to his heir. He again confirms this, so he wants to ask her something. The guy asks to tell everything about the current situation and the authorities in the sect. Before Yunwan was Liu Yang Ryan, the eldest flame. In total, there were 5 families in the sect. The first Tonka, the surname of the heavenly demon itself, and then 4 families of students of Barkan, Liui, Doomday and Guyan, in the sect of the heavenly demon. The law has paramount importance. The first states that only direct descendants of the Tanmok family can become the head of the sect. However, 250 years ago during the 7th Demonic War, the head of Chan, the remaining members of the family, did not live long, so the place of the head of the sect is still empty. Yunwan thinks if this is so, then the families should be fighting for the place of the chapter. But nothing around us indicates the massacre, which means that someone temporarily replaces the head of the sect. Yang Ryan notices his quick wits. She thought at first that he was just another idiot who only knows how to wave his hands, but she was mistaken. While the leader's place is empty, his duties are performed by the Council of Elders and Guardians. He heads the council of the side branches of the Tanmok family, whose members cannot lead the sect, after which 3 guards are coming, and then 7 elders. And then there are 4 lords of the demons. The guy realized that the guards and elders were just old people in power, and asks about these 4. The bloody demon, the demon Alder, the demon of poison, and the demon of the gloomy sky. They are also representatives of each of the 4 families. Yunwan realizes that he should defeat them all control over the sect. And also there is a 4 oldest and 4 flowers. This is important for individuals among women. Yang Ryan is the eldest of the flame and one of the 4. The girl confirms this. She speaks the most followers in the sect of the heavenly demon among the 12 demons masters. The guy considers it confusing and asks how many people they have. Those who have real power about 2,000, and if you take into account everyone, then 20,000. Yunwan recalls that about 15,000 in the Association of Northern Blade. The guy says this perfectly, and they will help him a lot. The girl knows that he will have to be hard, because he does not have a single person who will convince the rest that the guy receiver of the heavenly demon He does not understand how this is not and indicates it. Young Ryan is completely puzzled by his words. Young Ryan does not understand what is wrong with this person. He simply appeared suddenly out of nowhere and declares that he would lead the heavenly demonic cult. For someone who carries nonsense, his words are quite convincing. She is interested in what he wants to achieve. She will help him, but in return she has a condition. Yunwan asks what condition she has. If he promises at any time to fulfill one desire of the girl, then she will do everything in her power to help him. The guy says, if only it is possible for him, then he agrees to this. A humble subordinate, the Scorching Empress, welcomes the Supreme Heavenly Demon. He asks young Ryan what he should do. To be recognized by the Supreme Heavenly Demon, he must receive the recognition of the Keepers and Elders. Then the guy must subjugate 12 young masters. After that, it will be possible to deal with the 4 demonic lords. Yunwan thanks her for the information and declares that the heavenly demonic cult with style will absorb. She asked him to be careful, because the Hall of Guardians is guarded by 10 Kings of Swords, and the Elders' Hall is guarded by 10 demonic guards. They are experts secretly brought up by guardians and elders. The demon tells Yunwan that instead of coming to these keepers, he simply bypasses them. The demon thinks Yunwan is going to check 10 kings and guards. The young man confirms his words. The guy just wants to check how strong they are. Suddenly, someone with a sword jumps out of the wall and attacks a guy. Yunwan climbed onto the ceiling and evaded a blow. The attacker did not understand why he did not overtake his goal. He felt that the airflow was slightly broken. The guy asks the heavenly demon if he is sure of the performance of his martial art. The demon can do nothing with a miserable number of ki inside the young man. Moreover, this attacker also used heavenly demonic secretive art. Although thanks to the high level of Yunwan, it does not look like he discovered a guy. He understands that for members of the cult of the heavenly demon, the use of martial arts of the heavenly demon for granted, but this can annoy a little. The man who attacked him thinks he begins to lose his skills. Yunwan believes that if the 10 kings of the sword are at such a level, then he has nothing to worry about. In the middle of the hall, surrounded by monuments with fire, 3 unknown people sit something discussing. One of the men asks the Right Keeper how much the skill of children from the training room has increased. The Right Keeper replies that the children are at a satisfactory level. In particular, in this group there are many outstanding children, great guardians. The old man now asks the left guard whether the demonic lord of the Scarlet Sun made his move. The left guard is still saying any obvious movements on his part. He has acted since he began to train in solitude. In truth, if we talk only about martial arts, the bloody demon is stronger. Although not much, it seems. The demonic lord of the Scarlet Sun also realizes this. That is why he tries to become stronger. The old man asks a great guard if he thinks that the demonic lord of the Scarlet Sun is better than a bloody demon. The great guard thinks if most of their members want to conquer the Central Plains, he thinks to better leave the leader's position behind the lord of the Scarlet Sun. However, the lord of the bloody demons will not stand still. The problem is that the demonic lord of the Scarlet Sun will fail due to its stubbornness. The great guard calls 10 kings of swords. He immediately appears and asks what happened. He asks what they did once allowed the outsider to penetrate this place. They do not understand what he is talking about. The old man throws a dagger at Yunwan and says this for the first time he felt humiliated, since he went to Jianghu and broke his dagger. 10 kings of swords do not understand who he is and how the guy came here. The guy says now the problem is not that. He is next to the old man and asks him if he is a great keeper. 10 kings of swords are angry and threaten to kill the young man. The old man tells them to stop. The great guardian confirms his title. He asks Yunwan who he is. The guy seems to be a heavenly destroyer and calls himself a receiver of a heavenly demon. Yunwan wants to know about 3 guards and young Ryan tells him. Left golden demon of fire Tan Mokhu. Right demon of the golden shield General Tan Mok Sleep. However, the one who really deserves the attention of Yunwan, the first guardian advisor to the heavenly demon, Tan Mok Chonan. He is more than 200 years, and this man is an incomparable master of martial arts. No one knows who he is actually. They say that one of the 12 demons of masters is his student. The guy realized that Chonan was a great warrior, because he could declassify him despite the technique of a heavenly demon. All 3 guards are shocked after Yunwan's words that he is a student of the heavenly demon. The demon of fire Hu says how the guy dares to joke with the name of the heavenly demon and thinks he lost fear. Feelings of fear is alien to him. Because he is really his student, he is boldly standing surrounded by 10 swords. The man asks the guy how he will prove to him. Yunwan decides to get his sword of a heavenly demon to confirm his personality. The right and left guard in bewilderment, they think this fake. He asks if they believe him now. The first guard says if his senile eyes do not lie, then in front of them the sword of the heavenly demon. but this is not enough for them to accept it as a supreme leader. If he returns the blade to them, they will contact him as a guest of an honorary guest. But if he decides to encroach in the place of the chapter, they have no choice but to make him change his mind. Yunwen sees that in the sect of the Heavenly Demon his authority fell below the plinth, and asks the demon how he was. The demon says what parasites they are and what they imagined. The guards do not understand who he is talking with. He thinks he crashes, because they do not see the Heavenly Demon. The old man says if the young man is really his receiver, then this needs to be proved by his skills. 1 out of 10 swords leads a guy on some dungeon and tells them a little more. Yunwen is glad, because he was already tired of going. Judging by because there is plenty of oxygen here, the guard confirms this, because the local cliffs pass the air. They arrived at the border of the Heavenly Demon. The guy looks surprised. The first guard tells the guy if he really is a receiver, then let him open the gates of the tomb and he will need to go and take one thing. Yunwen asks what kind of thing he should pick up. The old man replies that he would need to pick up a ring. This is a sacred object that once belonged to the Heavenly Demon. Only the founders of the sects of those times could wear such a symbol of power. There is a legend that a way is engraved on the ring how to achieve a state of enlightenment. The guy thinks the first guard speaks seriously, and asks the Heavenly Demon about the ring. This is his favorite jewelry, and it's storing knowledge about all his military equipment. If this is true, then such a thing is useful to Yunwen. The door does not open. The guy thinks to eat some kind of secret. It's just an iron wall. The left guard asks the first guard whether they really will allow this guy to enter the tomb. The old man says, judging by the technique used by the young man, he is not so far from the teachings of the Heavenly Demon. But just for this, it is impossible to make him the leader of the sect, and also for the fact that he has in some way the sword of the Heavenly Demon. If he has abilities like a Heavenly Demon, he will be able to open the tomb and pick up the ring. This will become a sufficient basis to make it the head. Then Yunwen will be able to cope with this task, and will be the first guard will arrange everything. Most likely the tomb is under serious protection. 1 of 10 swords arrived at the guards. They ask him what happened. The guy says the young man asks them for one service. The man asks what service he asks for. Yunwen wants healing and nutritious elixirs, and also demanded that no one be approaching the tomb. The first guard does not understand what can threaten people next to the tomb. Their subordinate says the guy was about to pierce the gates with his sword. The demon asks Yunwen to concentrate at one point. The demon's weapon will even withstand such a blow. The guy knows this and offers to check the severity of his blade. And the young man attacks the gates of the tomb with the sword of the Heavenly Demon. The guy thinks he was able to break the gate for sure. The Heavenly Demon says for his gate this is just a scratch. Yunwen realized that it was necessary to beat stronger. And the tiring work continued. Even with the Heavenly Destroyer, it was difficult to break through them. He attacked the gate for about 3 hours, but was able to make only a small chip. However, he began to focus less on the battle technique and began to pay more attention to the concentration of internal energy. The guy focuses on the distribution of energy at all points. Huainan asks the young master in order of Li. The Heavenly Demon asks him not to distract him. The demon thinks the guy will succeed the next time. It makes no sense to explain to him how great the value of the amount of internal energy. But enlightenment will be enough to become much stronger, and get a completely different level of ownership of martial arts, and all this depends only on Yunwen's own determination. The execution of combat techniques directly depends on the flow of internal energy. Thanks to this, the sword will understand how to attack without blocking the flow from the heart. It is necessary to open the soul and sets out to go to the end. And then the energy path will be laid. In the heart, softness, hardness, and flexibility. They change each other and cease to exist separately. 28 hours later, 14 minutes and 24 seconds, when Yun finally opened his eyes. Energy comes from him. The demon congratulates him and asks him how he feels. The guy does not even know whether it was worth saying how insignificant his past possibilities were difficult to describe. But he seemed to open a new huge world, which could not even imagine before. It turns out that these are not another trick of the demon, an intangible sword and natural swords. The guy would live, and further knowing all this. The Heavenly Demon says what pleasure to discover this for himself. And this is only the beginning. Maybe he will even ever reach the end. The guy will go further and further until he understands when he should stop. That is why he needs to do something in order to feel alive. Yunwen felt such light that his body had become hollow. Although he could not feel the fullness of the surging energy, he realized her, for he comprehended a completely different state. He stuck a sword to the place in which he beat earlier. He needs to convert the swords of the swords into the wind of swords, and all that remains is an explosion of a sword. He formed a huge whirlwind of energy and inflicted a strong blow to the gates. He really became stronger, and the energy overwhelms it. And Yunwen now, after opening the doors, will go to see where the ring of the Heavenly Demon lies. Inside a huge library, the young man holds in his hand a manual for martial arts. The guy throws the book to the floor. Huainan does not understand why the young master does not like to read. No one thinks of the heavenly demon. These pieces of paper will not be able to help someone who discovered the path to the energy of the heart. The tomb of the heavenly demon was divided into 6 halls. In the first, the secrets of martial arts were stored. The second was collected manuals created by the past elders of the sect. The third hall was given to the elixirs. The guy is surprised. There are more bottles than it was in the palace. There, their cat cried. He will need to return here later. These elixirs can be very useful in the future. The fourth hall of the arsenal, completely clogged with weapons, on each of which there was a brief explanation. The fifth hall, the knowledge hall, where information about the past leaders of the sect of the heavenly demon was collected. There stood the statues in full size, books with their techniques and memoirs. According to the advisor to the heavenly demon, the personal belongings of the demon and his jewelry are stored in the last room. The demon laughs and thinks everything is clearly pulled out. Yunwen asks if the demon seems a little strange. Is it really that the opening of the tomb proves that the guy is his receiver? Of course it was not so simple, but still does not fit in my head. They entered the hall of heavenly demon. The sculptors successfully managed to convey the appearance of the heavenly demon. Someone flies from a height to Yunwan. The guy and his spirits have not yet noticed him. The creature that approached him says that he had not felt the human smell for a long time. The young man does not understand who he is and applies the concealment of traces. The guy thinks he does not see him anymore. But this monster is behind him. He throws up the guy up. 500 years ago, the former master of demons, the strongest of the 4, is one of the most influential figures in the history of the sect of the heavenly demon. Once greed blinded him, he secretly penetrated the tomb and abducted the ring of a heavenly demon, after which he began to secretly practice in martial arts. However, the energy emanating from the ring was too great, and in the end, this master was crazy. More than 300 soldiers of the sect donated themselves to lock it in a tomb and apply a seal to the entrance. A little more and Yunwan would have had big problems if he had not reacted to his blow. The demonic energy of this monster is everywhere, and asks the master who he is. The man says the guy will find out if he survives him. He blocks the blow of the sword of Yunwan with his sword, and he attacks the guy in response in flight. Sparks fly away everywhere. The demon jumped away from the young man. The heavenly demon praises the young man, saying how he perfectly repelled the blow. The man says Yunwan is not so bad and asks if the guy wants to see what he is capable of. He triggers his sword with a blow of his leg. Yunwan also launches his sword. They and their swords collide in a close confrontation. The guys start their swords again and conduct a furious confrontation among themselves. The demon stops this gimp and their swords are stuck on the floor. Opponents stand against each other and throw their eyes. Yunwan notices how his aura became excellent and internal energy in him also more. The man is glad that he was faced with such a person. Even though the guy is young, he is close to the aura of a man. He is interested in who he was. It is unlikely that these old people from the sect just let him here, and certainly not they raised such a good warrior. The guy says to be his skills so outstanding, the man would already get out of here, but he still sticks out here. The man says there is nothing interesting in this, and besides, he must do something else here. He is interested in why Yunwan came here. The guy came to a secret storage behind the ring of a heavenly demon. The man understood and thinks the advisor sent him. The young man says he just came here to just pick up what belongs to him. The man has not met a worthy enemy for a long time, and although all this is very nice, he asks to follow the guy in his tongue. Yunwan replies that he himself should follow what he says. The guy says he is the receiver of the heavenly demon. The guy begs Jueguan to spare him at least once and think about their old friendship. The winner in the battle is announced by Dantai Jueguan. He does not understand why everyone rejoices. Just like a tiger kills a rabbit, the murder of such a bastard does not care at all Jueguan. Even in a demonic cult where his strong boredom ruled, he did not let up. He deliberately stole a heavenly demonic ring to make his demon's heart be furious, but the incentive lasted only a moment. When he came to his senses, he already killed 300 members of the cult. As many as 300 people died due to trifling movements, which he could not even remember. In addition to boredom, it was a sense of despair contrary to his weakness. The crazy demon Jueguan experienced a deep sense of despair in his own power. He is interested in why he trained and what is the benefit of this ring. He thinks the heavenly demon was also lonely. He is the only one with whom the guy can chat. He is interested in what would happen if they lived in the same era. He returns the ring again to the heavenly demon. Tsuikan notices the notes of the heavenly demon. The pride of the crazy demonic monarch, who was once proud that he was the strongest, was completely torn to pieces before the military knowledge of the heavenly demon. The heavenly demon has a completely different approach. Zhuguan thinks that a person below his level will not be able to comprehend the depth of these words. These are just words, but they drive him crazy with excitement. A crazy demonic monarch, who was bored of his whole life, found salvation in the texts left by the heavenly demon. Then he decided to abandon his erratic desires and achieve an outrageous demonic kingdom in this place, using the books of the ancestor of the heavenly demon. So 50 years have passed, and then a guy appears who calls himself a supreme heavenly demon. Zhuguan was so aware that he could not resist laughter. He laughs in the whole throat from the guy's words that he is the supreme heavenly demon. The man admits that his achievements are incredible for a person who has not yet been 20 years old. However, the words supreme heavenly demon is not only to be pronounced rash. Yunwen hardly blocks his blow, and Zhuguan grins. Zuika notices his laughter. He says the guy has courage and he likes it. He throws the guy back. The young man notices his incredible power, even despite the fact that in the past were the leaders of the cult, who are still called great heavenly demonic masters. There is only one supreme heavenly demon. And for Zhuguan, this man is no different from God. The man says Yunwen himself brought himself to death and led into a huge amount of internal energy into his sword. The young man notes his incredible improved key sword. Zhuguan warns the guy calling him a baby and advises him to be careful, and he makes the strongest swing from behind the back with a sword. From a blocked blow on the sword of Yunwen, an energy trace remained. The man attacks him again. The guy throws herself away from the series of blows. Form, technique, dexterity, impulse, variability, and non-existence. All this is dog nonsense, just finites that do not stand in the opinion of Zhuguan. He simply spins and attacks the young man again and again. Yunwen knelt and relies on his sword. Deep traces from the strokes of a man are visible on the floor. Zhuguan is annoyed and does not understand how the guy withstood it. The heavenly demon reports Yunwen and tells him not to fight in his forehead, but to use his techniques and tricks. Even if the demon had not told him, he already knew this. Zhuguan asks why the guy talks to himself and tells him to just die. Yunwen is ready and took a stable position. The guy used the technique of heavenly demonic copies. Zhuguan thinks this simply sorry for the copied technique, and not the genuine technique of the heavenly demon. Yunwen, along with his clones, attacks a man. He notices that they are all real and does not understand how a guy can use such an exclusive technique. The master of martial arts of the level of crazy lord of demons could easily see the continuous attacks of an enhanced Kui sword. The first looked at the first. They looked like several simultaneous attacks. However, upon careful consideration, they definitely followed any order. It was elementary to counterattack in this order. No matter what master of martial arts he came across, the difference was only in speed, and the essence remained the same. However, the technique of the heavenly destroyer was different. Simultaneous attacks from material bodies. Even if it were a crazy lord of demons, it was impossible to block all the attacks that were coming from all sides at the same time. A man suddenly begins to spin and create a whirlwind of energy. As Yunwen expected, Zhuguan is not a simple guy. The heavenly demon says this is not enough and asks him to continue and attack him. Huainan thinks they must go to another place and first reassure themselves. The guy tells them to shut up. They are simply scattered in words, but for him it is like a splinter in the ass. Yunwen notices an incredible solution. Zhuguan asks what this suddenly talked to himself. He thinks Yunwen as crazy as he is. The guy runs away and asks to give him a second to think. The man says Yunwen runs like a coward. The young man replies that he was not going to run away, and he just thought how to defeat Zhuguan, and he just came to the conclusion that the man lost. The guy decides to start using his second sword, the Emperor's sword. The man considers him arrogant and does not think that he can use two swords with the help of inner ki at once. Each of his attacks to a ridiculous fierce. Compared to how he used one sword, his ki did not decrease. Zhuguan realized that it not only did not decrease, but also increased. Only after crossing the swords did he realize that this young man, or rather the heavenly demon, the one he dreamed about. Yunwen sends him into flight, creating a huge club of smoke. He stands opposite the defeated Zhuguan and asks whether he believes now that he is the supreme heavenly demon. A man is interested in whether something like this is really possible. The young man replies that it doesn't matter whether it could happen or not. He already had to understand this after the fight with him. Yunwen asks whether the man is still going to stay here. Zhuguan replies that he does not know. Having mastered the martial arts of the ancestor of the heavenly demon and reaching high skill, he even tried to capture the cult. But now that Yunwen appeared here, what made his life the meaning disappeared. The guy asks how to give her meaning. Yunwen will make the power of his heavenly demonic cult. He does not know what he will do in the future, but assures that Zhuguan will not be bored. The guy needs him and offers him to go with him. The man trembles with excitement. It seems his dreams come true. Since then, he is his student. The crazy lord of the demons, Dantai Zhuiguan, welcomes the supreme heavenly demon with tears of joy on his face. In the guards' hall, 1 out of 10 swords informs the first guard. The old man is interested in whether the guy has died already. The subordinate does not know how to explain, but the guy not only did not die. All 3 guards turn around and surprised from something. Yunwan stands with the ring of a heavenly demon and smiles at him. The old people are in shock and also notice Zhuiguan at the back of him. Judging by their faces, he thinks that he did enough as evidence. The young man asks the Lord of the Demons what it is to breathe fresh air after half a century. The man said so many years, but nothing has changed here. The first guard in bewilderment from what is happening. Because not only this is the Lord of the Demons, but he also called the guy the Supreme. The young man took the ring and survived. So this madman also brought the Demon Master here. The guy asks not to delay the advisor to the answer, and asks if evidence of confirmation of his personality is enough. The advisor among the guards, Tanmok Chonin, celebrates the appearance of the supreme heavenly demon with all his heart, and kneels in front of him, holding his hands together. All in the hall, like 10 swords and other guards, follow Chonin and also welcome the supreme demon. They gathered, and the guards, along with Zhuiguan, are sitting opposite Yunwan. The right guard learned that the body of the guy is the spirit of a heavenly demon. Yunwan confirms this and says that everything thanks to the right called Fundamentals of the Call and Binding of the Soul. Zhuiguan realized that during their battle the guy was not talking to himself. The first guard speaks in this world a lot of things that cannot understand the human mind. It is really incredible. And the old man is interested in what the heavenly demon says now. Yunwan says he has been cursing them for quite some time. The heavenly demon shouts that they are all brainless idiots. The guy drinks tea and says the demon thought they subjugated all the Murim once. They are his followers. And the fact that it is impossible to find a sect, even if you rinse your eyes with some potion, very much disappoints it. The heavenly demon wants to say something to them and asks to quote the guy of his words. He is a heavenly demon. The guards, along with Zhuiguan, trembling, welcome him. The heavenly demon criticized the current state of the sect for a long time, and then he ordered Van Yun to equate Van Yuna to the title of heavenly demon and help him in every way. Of course, no one could question his word, so everyone followed the orders of the founder of the sect. The first guard asks the guy what he thinks about the ring of a heavenly demon. The guy says he does not know, and at first glance the ring just looks unusual. The demon thinks what a fool he is, and now he will show him the power of his weapon. The guy says that the old man is not talking to him. If you fill the ring with energy and quit, it can lead to incredible destruction. The ring will break through any protective barrier of the enemy like a sheet of paper. It also gives the effect of resistance to fire. And if you take the ring in the mouth and concentrate in it energy, it neutralizes any poison. Yunwan understood and says that the ring is really not simple. The demon corrects and says it is more than not simple. The guy tells the Lord of the Demons that it is time for them to go, and Zhuiguan is interested in where they will go. The young man speaks ahead of them, is waiting for a hard road. They need to curb 12 horses. The Lord of the Demons does not understand what 12 horses the guy says. The first guard seems that he understands what Yunwan is talking about. The old man tells the Heavenly Destroyer that they are one of the best warriors of their sect. They have great potential, and everyone is waiting for them to return the sect of its former greatness. If the guy manages to gain their trust, then in the future, they will help him. Yunwan knows about this, so he is going to meet with these demons masters. Zhuiguan doubts that they must use the underwater immersion technique to get to the place. He thinks this can scare the horses, and they will scatter. The demon lord suggests first to get quietly. Yunwan says these jerks still have no milk on the lips. Zhuiguan notices those 12 demons masters about whom the guy spoke. The young man shouts to them in the whole throat and asks whether it is possible to join them. The Lord of the Demons is unequivocally puzzled by his act. 12 demons masters do not understand what kind of guy it is and where he came from. The guy thinks to them 12 masters can explain and asks the Lord of the Demons to help him in this. Zhuiguan says the Supreme in front of them. One of them replies that they do not mix them. After a second, they all received in the face. The guys still do not understand who these two, and the subordination of the 12 masters ended. The guy says for their age they have excellent skills and asks the young man opposite his name. The boy replies that they do not know who Yunwan is, although, judging by what technique he had just used. Zhuiguan continues his thought and says that in front of them is the supreme heavenly demon. The young man is surprised. They can swear for 12 masters only under 2 conditions. The first, they should defeat them, and the second is the leader of the sect of the heavenly demon. And both conditions have been fulfilled, so since then, 12 demon masters will faithfully serve him. The guy says now they received 3 guards and a dozen masters. The heavenly demon notices Yunwan's unimportant appearance. The guy turned pale and fell to the ground. The guy lies pale in bed after his fall. The first guard asks Juiguan why he allowed this condition of the young man, because he was with him all the time. The Lord of the Demons thinks Yunwan too much because he used martial arts that he had not used before and he had some kind of inner demon. The old man asks what martial art the young man was engaged in, which reached such a state. Juiguan says it was a sword of nature. The man also saw this for the first time, so he was not sure, but he heard that this is the kingdom outside the intangible kingdom of swords. When the guy subjugated 12 demons masters, he realized that he could not subordinate them if they did not give up themselves. Juiguan noticed the young man's sword was not ordinary. Instead of flowing in a straight line, she flowed out in the form of a smell. Soon she became thick, like fog, and filled the entire space. 12 demonic masters, who looked at this scene with admiration, suddenly realized that their bodies were not moving at all. They did not understand what was happening, and soon realized that they were not opponents. The first guard doubts the existence of the kingdom outside the intangible kingdom of the sword. Juiguan tells them the master does not need these questions and all they need to follow his will, and the young man will soon come across. The old man is surprised that Yunwan was able to surpass the level of a transcendental demonic kingdom at such a young age, and probably something like this did not happen in Murim earlier. The guy suddenly opens his eyes and jumps from under the covers. Heavenly Demon and Huainan are interested in how he feels and worry about the guy. He had a dream, how he stood alone in the pitch darkness of the ocean. The young man asks the Heavenly Demon what is the difference between key sword and reinforced key sword. The demon does not understand why suddenly he decided to ask him about it. Waking up, the Heavenly Destroyer suddenly filled up the Heavenly Demon with questions about martial arts, then with innocent children's eyes, then with a passionate voice of a young man, then with a deep look of the sage. The Heavenly Demon was at first puzzled, but then he was delighted because a person appeared with whom you can discuss it all. Thanks to the conversation with the Heavenly Demon, the Heavenly Destroyer advanced one more step forward, to incomparable with what was before. The next few days passed calmly. Yunwan treated his new subordinates, 12 demonic young masters, and was engaged in their training in martial arts. Yunwan first teaches others. Since the young man had already surpassed the transcendental demonic kingdom, he was able to freely use the intangible sword. He cuts the stone in half with amazing ease. 12 young masters monitor this, and are surprised at the intangible sword. From the point of view of the theory of the sword, the Heavenly Destroyer was already in a sense more skillful than anyone else. He had already surpassed the Heavenly Demon. The young man sits on the throne in the hall, and his subordinates are kneeling in front of him. Young Ryan was surprised. She knew that he was an amazing person. However, she could not have assumed that Yunwan could defeat the Guardians and 12 Demons Masters in just a few days. Moreover, a man next to the guy is a notorious crazy demonic monarch. Juiguan notices her gaze and asks her what she stared at. But in any case, young Ryan considers Yunwan incredible. The first guard asks the young man what he thinks about announcing all the facts and indicate the path to advance their heavenly demonic cult. The guy wants to see a little more. He wants everyone in the cult of a heavenly demon to recognize him as a supreme heavenly demon. Tomorrow there will be sparring between the Lord of the Demons of the Scarlet Sun and the Lord of Blood Demons. Despite the fact that they are both talented people recognized by everyone in the cult, they are at war with each other for any reason. This sparring is not just a competition, but an event that determines the further path of a heavenly demonic cult. The first guard says that when Yunwan appeared, it ceased to be valid. Yunwan says this is not true. These two demonic lords can be considered as the representative forces of the heavenly demonic cult, and he believes that this is a good opportunity to see the power of their cult with their own eyes. In the meantime, he wants to first see how sparring will pass, and hopes that everyone will remain calm and follow his words. Everyone in the hall says that they will follow his order. Juiguan is interested in the guy, what he is going to do with the Central Plains. He knows that he should be wanting to conquer them. The young man plans to avoid a strong war with the Central Plains. The Lord of the Demons does not understand him. The method with which the sect wanted to subjugate the lands Chonvon would lead to numerous victims, and he wants to unite with their enemy. The guy speaks now not foreign policy but domestic. To begin with, they should reorganize the structure of the sect. One of the 12 demons masters of OK-Kin, Rin, asks Mu Yongjon whether the supreme heavenly demon differs from their sect. Yongjon tells Qin Rin to stop rubbing nonsense because she herself saw what Yunwan is capable of. But in his head, the guy agrees with her, and he is interested in what the Heavenly Destroyer actually conceived. Juiguang is training under the leadership of Yunwan on the ground. Traces of training are visible. The guy says that he was warming up and ready. Yunwan does not understand who is so crushed. The Heavenly Destroyer tells the man that he tried well today. The young man also needs to secretly select warriors under the age of 40, faithful to the sect. The Lord of the Demons asks whether the sex of a person has some kind of meaning. The guy says it does not matter, and you also need to find out how things are in the training center. He orders him to do this. The man accepts the task, but he does not understand what his master really wants. According to the fact that Yunwan knows tomorrow's tournament will determine whether the sect of the Heavenly Demon will try to win Chonvon. Sooner or later, a fierce struggle will unfold between the Association Northern Blade and demonic sects. But the good thing is that yet the sect of the Heavenly Demon is not interested in them. The young man realizes the world on the verge of changes. The guy calls the leader of 10 Swords. He sticks a letter to him and asks him to transfer him to the one who is best versed in the laws. The drummer in a mask with horns and the demon's face reminiscent hits a lot on the drums and turns the crowd. The crowd rejoices at the beginning of the tournament. Chonvon. This word also means the desire of the sect of the Heavenly Demon to capture it, but also what awakens longing in the chest. All members in the sect excited this event, regardless of whether they approved, supported, or sought to seize Chongwon or not. One of the spectators rejoices at the appearance of an advisor to the Heavenly Demon, but he does not understand who it is next to him. He does not know who it is, but the guy looks very young. 3 guards, Yunwen and Zuiguan, took their places. The guy notices that everyone is very excited. The first guard speaks from the outcome of the match depends on whether they will capture the Central Plains, otherwise they cannot react. A demon of Alder from the Kirkin family appears. The bloody demon from the Dumda clan also appears in the arena. The young man sees how all viewers support them. Yunwan is interested in why they are fighting, because there are 4 main demons in the sect. The old man replies that these 2 pillars of the sect, but among themselves, they constantly conduct confrontations. He thinks the Lord of the Demons remembers that before he was locked in the tomb, the bloody demon was his servant. The man does not remember much, because his memories are as if blurred by fog. The bloody demon was very respected by Zhui Guan. Even after the terrible incident that the Lord of the Demons performed half a century ago, he took his side, for which he was sent to prison. Zhui Guang does not want to listen to it. He wants to see what will happen now. Yunwen says whatever 2 rivals there and offers an advisor to start a duel. The first guard states that this battle will determine the further fate of the sect of the Heavenly Demon, and tells the soldiers to accept the outcome of the fight, no matter what it is. He asks if they have to say something to them. The bloody demon, nothing to say, and the Lord of the Scarlet Sun wants to say something. The demon Ola calls everyone to listen to him. He wants to fulfill the long-standing desire of the sect, and therefore stands now in this place. The crowd rejoices and roots for the demon Alder. He respects the bloody demon as a warrior. But because of one person, you can't turn a blind eye to their long-standing goal. Now their sect lives and flourishes, so they should more put off this campaign. The bloody demon screams with anger and does not understand why the demon Alder's demon in this case is against this. They should respect their ancestors whose blood flows through their veins. The demon Alder glorifies the Heavenly Demon and says that they will subordinate the whole Murim. Yunwan thinks of this person's talent to speak beautifully. The first guard says to start. The battle will continue until one of the participants accepts its defeat. The demon Alder and the bloody demon stand opposite each other and prepared for the competition. Yunwen asks the Heavenly Demon why they just stand and look at each other. The Heavenly Demon speaks in a battle between masters of this level. The slightest oversight can cost a whole life. Even if it seems that they just stand idle opposite each other, they should study attacks and all possible development of events, while consuming a significant number of QE. The guy meant that he would already inflict fatal wounds and end this. The demon says that the young man is at a completely different level. The Lord of the Demons asks Yunwan, in the opinion of Zhui Guan, the bloody demon has more advantages in the duel. The guy does not know. He thinks if it were an ordinary match would be so. But for some reason he feels strange energy. Zhui Guan does not understand what he is talking about. The young man tells him to simply continue to observe, and soon he himself will understand everything. The demon Alder produces a stream of strong energy with 2 hands, and his opponent in response applies the technique of the bloody dragon sword. Zhui Guan says both in the same kingdom. Yunwen thinks it like that. However, the young man does not think that the demon Alder used everything at his disposal, and he probably has an ace in his sleeve. He again holds his attack, and the bloody demon easily blocks it with a sword. A man is angry and applies again the technique of a bloody dragon. The demon Alder smirks sarcastically. In response, he uses the demonic art of the fierce sun. The bloody demon is tight from the blows of his enemy. After the next blow, the bloody demon begins to cough with blood. The demon Alder tries to finish him off and brings a strong blow to the fallen opponent. However, the bloody demon miraculously evaded. The hand of the demon alder literally a couple of centimeters from the man's head. After that, the bloody demon tried to counterattack, but the demon alder simply bounced to the side. He notices his perseverance, but he is going to finish it beautifully, and his eyes change his shade. Yunwan notices this and says, Juguan to protect the bloody demonic lord. The man obeys his order. The demon Olhai concentrates the energy on his fist and is going to finish this battle. But Juiguan beats his attack, defending the bloody demon. The demon alder does not understand who is standing in front of him and tells him to leave the road. Juiguan says the match is already over and asks demon Olha to go back. The demon alder says to kill the bloody demonic lord. The lord of the demons does not understand who the man is talking to. Yunwan felt someone else's presence. The first guard does not understand what kind of guys appeared in the arena. The supreme heavenly demon tells 10 swords to protect the keepers, and orders the 12 demon masters to destroy the guys in the black to the left and to the right of the stage. And he asks Juiguan to protect his back. 2 unknown people attacked the master of demons. They are surprised that the man jumped away from their blow. Juiguan asks them who they are. The demon alder says they were revealed and orders everyone to go on the attack. 1. 12 demons masters are versed in people in black. The demon alder looks at this picture and angers, and Yunwan got up to him from the back and asks him what he stared at. The man, not having time to turn around, receives a blow in the face from the young man, breaking through the earth under him. The lord of the demons is surprised, and at that time he holds one of the attackers. The guy asks where the real demonic lord of the Scarlet Sun. The man did not know that in the heavenly demonic cult there is such an expert, and did not understand who he is. Yunwan grabs him by the scroll and says that he was the first to ask a question. If a man does not want to answer, then let him not answer. In this case, Yunwan will simply spill his anger. The man's name is Zhu Huguan, Icy Demonic Heart. He is the deputy leader of the evil bloody cult. The young man is surprised and asks to continue further. From the point of view of the Force, the demonic lord of the Scarlet Sun and the bloody demonic lord are equal. Therefore, in order to advance to the central planes, the demonic lord of the Scarlet Sun tried to borrow their strength. Thanks to the spy, which the bloody cult introduced into the heavenly demonic cult, they learned that the lord of the Scarlet Sun suddenly abandoned their offer. Using a spy, they introduced the poison of the lord of the Scarlet Sun for a long period of time. So although he is alive now, he cannot use martial arts. Now the young man understood where the story came from that the demonic lord of the Scarlet Sun trained in solitude. The real demon of Alder should be with them now. 12 demons masters report that they captured and killed all people in black. The audience noticed and surprised that one of the 12 masters called Yunwan Mr. The guy thinks what a dumb one who called him a master and asks all the people in black are dead. Zhu Huguang noticed that he was the only one alive and tells the young man that if they want to get an answer, then they should save his life. Yunwan, they all begin to act on the nerves. The man holds on to his throat and flatters Yunwan, saying how wise he is, and the preservation of his life will be useful to him. The guy says he did not understand him. The young man does not negotiate with such bastards. Zhu Huguang does not understand what he is talking about. The young man replies that everything is exactly as he said. He tells the Lord of the Demons to take care about the man. Spectators also continue to discuss Yunwan. Moreover, they notice his sword and ring, and understand that these are the attributes of a heavenly demon. The one who called him the master apologizes, and the guy is angry and asks to hold his mouth on the castle. And now, when everything turned out so that the young man has no choice how to take everything seriously, Yunwan yells throughout the arena and seems to be a supreme heavenly demon, a heavenly destroyer. People are in shock and does not quite understand his speech. It is true that he wears the ring and sword of the heavenly demon, but they do not think that he can be a supreme heavenly demon at such a young age. One of the spectators considers him crazy. Yunwan knew that everything would be so, and he was interested in that this time he should show in order to prove his personality. Juiguan says there is no need for this and takes off his mask. They understood who he was and at a bewilderment that the crazy demonic monarch does here. The bloody demon is also surprised to see his uncle. 3 keepers, the Lord of Demons, and even 12 demons masters bowed the knee in front of Yunwan and paid tribute to him. After that, everyone in the hall ceased to doubt his personality. They realized that their master was returning and they rejoice. In the assembly hall of the demonic pavilion, Yunwan gathered his subordinates and asked the first guard to tell him everything that he knows about the evil cult of blood. The old man begins his story. The evil bloody cult is a demonic cult of Tianju. After the Great Orthodox Demonic War, their relations were completely torn. The heavenly demonic cult and had no idea that something like that penetrated and plotted their cult. The first guard apologizes to the guy. Yunwan is not trying to point out their mistakes, but simply wants to understand the situation. He asks what their size in comparison with the heavenly demonic cult. The old man says their exact size is unknown, but judging by the past notes, he is in no way inferior to the heavenly demonic cult. The young man does not understand why in this case these people are unknown on the Central Plains. The first guard answers this because they were the same secret power as they were, and never advanced to the plains, even in the last great Orthodox demonic war. Only part of their forces was included in the cult of the heavenly demon, and participated in conquests. Yunwen thinks once these bastards decided to absorb their cult, which means they are sure that they are strong enough. In the meantime, they should find and talk about details with the real Lord of the Scarlet Sun. The heavenly demonic cult is possible in greater danger than Yunwen expected, and they will have to move forward with what he put off. The guy claims that from now on he reforms the heavenly demonic cult. The heavenly demonic cult of the cave forest, whose girls at the beginning of arrival in a demonic cult met Yunwen discuss the return of the supreme heavenly demon. They notice his beauty and want to see him again. The first guard shouts to Yunwen that it is impossible to discover the heavenly demonic secret storage. This is a tradition that has been preserved for 1,700 years, and only worthy can look into these secret guidelines. For some reason, it reminds a young man of old times when he was an emperor. The guy says traditions someday will still be violated, and precious information is precious only when they are used where it is necessary. Yunwen wants all students to see secret guidelines. In addition, they will use weapons and elixirs to improve their martial arts skills. 3 keepers look annoyed. The young man also adds that from now on, all organizational reforms will put individual abilities at the forefront. He does not mean that they will completely ignore seniority, but if someone has skills that surpass the skills of the higher it, or it can be increased by a rank higher. New systems that the Heavenly Destroyer offered were really non-standard. All the ranks of the Heavenly Demonic Cult were reorganized and divided into 10 ranks. Accordingly, each rank received its own color of clothing. The organization was reorganized, administrative management was minimized, and the quality of work of each link has increased. The leader of the detachment of Swords of the Demonic Emperor. The protection of Yunwen will be a crazy demonic monarch Zui Guan. The man says he says at his whole disposal. And also he will act as the main mentor in all disciplines of the cult. Old people discuss his decisions and probably want to object. Yunwen understands that it was Zui Guan who was responsible for bloodshed 50 years ago. But since he had already freed him from anger, no longer needs to worry about it. Even if his body is worn out and the soul will be crushed, Zui Guan will do everything for his master and heavenly demonic cult. The first guard is interested in what will be with the empty place of the Scarlet Sun. Yunwen is reported by subordinates that the Lord of the Demons of the Scarlet Sun is here, and they bring him on a stretcher. The young man does not understand what could bring the man to such a state. The old man is interested in how the guy was able to find Demon Olha. Yunwen suggested that he was imprisoned in their cult, and was right. He wants to leave the empty place of the Scarlet Sun Demon. The right guard objects, because this man is a traitor. Yunwen knows this, and his farewell happens only once, and if he decided to betray him again, then the young man will punish him with his own hands. The demon Alder in tears asks to forgive him for his sins. The guy will forget the mistakes of the past Lord of the Scarlet Sun, but he asks him not to forget those hot tears that are coming with him right now. Juiguan thinks to comprehend the depth of their master. When they first crossed the swords of his heart, trembled by the devotion of their supreme lord, which existed only in books, but his current appearance touches his soul differently. The heavenly demon in the books was a lonely man, and the more Juiguan recognized him, the more he sympathized with him. However, their current supreme lord, a little different, reforms the organization, introduces new laws, and also listens to his subordinates. The incomparable master and transcendental demonic kingdom is another, that he sees more like the emperor. Perhaps his gentleman is more than the first supreme lord. Juiguang training students. Yunwen asks him how many children died in this training camp. About 10% died. These are those who could not withstand exhausting training. The man says this world cruelly, in its strong eat the weak. Perhaps this is too tough. But the experience gained here will become valuable for children who have to live all their lives as masters of martial arts. Yunwen understands this and says that Juiguan is right. Children work out techniques on wooden swords. The guy notices that despite the fact that they are children, it is amazing how they work hard. This is a really strong group. He understands why the whole Murim should unite every time a heavenly demonic cult appears. The heavenly demonic cult had a tense time. Each organization set discipline, and the development of martial arts encouraged. Thanks to the secret guidelines, elixirs and weapons from the heavenly demonic secret storage, students reached a new level of improving their inner QE every day. 2 months passed in the instant of the eye, and Yunwen realized that the time had come. Yunwen gathered everyone in the pavilion. He says their cult has changed significantly, however. As he said earlier, they will avoid participating in a total war with the Central Plains. Juiguan asks whether they will continue to build up power here. The guy says some of the people from their cult will go to the Central Plains. The heavenly demonic cult will dominate so that they do not feel it. Juiguan, Baigun, Zhuanju, and Dantai Ushin will go with Yunwan to the Central Plains. The Azure Dragon Hall, the first guard asks the guy to do something before leaving. The old man speaks for many generations among the leaders of the cult to award the best student from children released from the training hall by martial art and weapons. This time, one child graduated from school with exceptional assessments. But if Yunwen does not want to follow the old tradition, then it's okay. The guy says that of course he will do this, his duty to encourage children who in the future will lead the heavenly demonic cult, and asks to bring this child here. Yunwan notices that she is a girl. Baigun Shoshin welcomes his master. He heard about her excellent results and asks what she wants. She replies that she does not want anything. The guy is confused and does not understand her. The girl's eyes shine. She looks at him intently. The right and left guard discuss her and considers the girl strange. Yunwen asks her how she wants to become a person in the future. The girl states that she intends to become the strongest master of the sword. The keepers are angry that she is talking to the master so much. The guy is interested in her, which, in her opinion, should be the strongest swordsman. She thinks is one who can defeat nature with the help of a sword. The old people are still angry and want to know her instructor. Suddenly Yunwen cries and says how brave she is. The girl is puzzled and confused after his words. The guy liked her answer. He did not expect this. Keepers are no less surprised. In addition to weapons and martial art, Yunwen wants to give her another gift. Since he does not have many weapons, he gives her his emperor's sword. The first guard thinks this too much, and as for the weapon, he asks to allow to bring weapons from the heavenly demonic storage. The young man after that declares that he himself is the second gift. The girl and keepers are shocked. From now on, they will have the relationship of the student and master. The girl will gradually study from him to martial arts. She has mixed feelings at the same time, rejoices and is afraid. The old man wants to know what her first gift will be. Her goal to become the strongest user of the sword is good, but very far away. Approaching the goal will be her third gift. He tells her to go with her and says her next goal, the Central Plains. Baigun Xiaoqin shines and really wants to go with him. In honor of the Destroyer of Heaven and his detachment, who went on a journey through the Central Plains in the big assembly hall, all members of the heavenly demonic cult gathered. People in the hall are interested in how the sect leader plans to do. He asks the first guard if the old man deceives him. The keeper replies that he had never dared. Just Yunwen cannot believe that if he pours his true key into this heavenly demonic ring will appear a spiritual animal. Moreover, he is nervous and does not understand how they will go on it to the Central Plains. The guy asks the heavenly demon whether the old man tells the truth. The demon says instead of asking him, why not try it himself? The demon says he raised him from childhood. If he is still alive, then how many years now he should be. Regardless of whether he is deceiving him or not, he blows strongly in the ring. But he doesn't succeed, and he stops blowing. He does not see a spiritual desire. The guy thinks him deceived. For many generations there was a spiritual animal, which was allowed only to the leaders of the heavenly demonic cult. The guy does not understand the words of the first guard. A huge bird appears above his head. The heavenly demon is glad that his pet is a golden falcon still alive. Yunwen is scared. He is afraid that the falcon will eat him because he looks frightening. The demon with a grin tells him not afraid and extend his hand. The falcon closed his eyes with pleasure. He recognized in a young man of heavenly demon, a falcon is really a mythical creature. The guy thinks he could not see such amazing things sitting in the palace and telling his team to climb on the back of the falcon. They go to Chonvan. The heavenly destroyer and his team flew to the capital of the province of Zhejiang, Hangzhou. This city is famous for its picturesque views, since it is located right on the river duct. Merchants often sailed here. This is an incredible place with a prosperous culture and diverse entertainment. A girl in a red robe dances with a tambourine. Because of this, the sect warriors who have never left their territory were in cultural shock. But Yunwan also saw this in the palace, but he first goes along such a busy street. The guy is a little worried. Baigun Xiaoqian is hungry and offers her master to eat. She is interested in what food they cook here. Juiguang takes her by the scroll and tells her to talk politely with Yunwan. The guy asks to let the girl go, because this is just a trifle. The young man invites them to eat, and go to the most popular local restaurant. Janin's house was the second building in Chonvan after the Yellow Crane Tower. Inside it was divided into 3 levels. The General Hall, the Hall of the Nobility, and the Royal Hall. The most expensive of them was the Royal Hall, where the night was worth 100 silver nannies. The waitress went to their table. She does not understand why they look so evil and asks what they want to order. Yunwen asks to bring a fried duck, godza, cold noodles, and black tea. The girl breathed out. I realized that these are good people and asks them if they want something else. The guy replies that they would call her Yupe will choose. The young man, using a sound program, wants to tell them something before food. He thinks they do not quite understand what is happening. His team looks too gloomy, and especially Jui Guan. After his words, the guys pulled smiles. Yunwen says in jungle it is better to preserve friendly faces and not to do anything that could attract unnecessary attention to them, and asks the demon overlord not to squeeze a smile so much. He asks them to call him a young master or just a master, because in Chonvon he is known as a heavenly jade dragon, and the guys also need suitable nicknames, because the master of demons is unlikely to delight the city guard. Juiguan again calls the guy the supreme. The young man reminds him of his speech. The team brought food. Yunwen offers them to eat first, and then decide. The girl asks why they came to Hangzhou. The guy heard that it was here that the leader of the Association of the Demonic Way is located. Everyone is surprised. The young man speaks precisely in Hangzhou. They will be able to get the necessary information the fastest. Before Yunwen came to the sect of the Heavenly Demon, the Association of the Northern Blade created the Murim Alliance. They said they were going to destroy the followers of the demonic path and had to achieve the first results. Therefore, he decided to look at these results in this place. Baigan Xiaosun understood the meaning of his words. Two people pass by their table. The Lord of the Demons notes that they are not similar to the civilian. Yunwen says that is why he hoped to see them. From that moment on, he asks them not to move. They do not understand what these two are staring at them. Yunwen thinks they are members of Murim. The guy turns out to be behind them and welcomes them. The guys do not understand what he wants. He asks them where the Association of the Demonic Way is located. One of them takes out a sword and their company immediately seems suspicious to him. Yunwen stops his attack with ease. The man does not understand how the scabbard was stolen from his tray. He does not understand who Yunwen is and where so much power is in him. The guard fiercely shouts to him to release his sword and scabbard immediately. Yunwen lets go, and the man flies to the floor by inertia. His subordinates notice that their master seems to play with this guard. The guy holds out his hand and asks him to forgive him for his rudeness, introducing himself as a heavenly jade dragon. He asked about the association because he left abroad for 3 months and wants to know what was happening in Murim during his absence. Men fall to his knees and apologize for not recognizing him. The young man asks him to answer one question. He is interested in what people in Murim are talking about him now. The guards say in Murim there is no one who would not know about the heavenly jade dragon, because he subjugated the leader of the bandits, and now he is the abbot Shaolin instead of Jianggun, and the most influential person in the alliance of 9 orthodox sects. The guy does not understand what time it is. The heavenly demon is right. The young man says everything was completely wrong. The girl speaks in the end after his speeches. He himself attracts the most attention. Yunwen asks his question and wants to know what happened in Murim in 3 months. The alliance of Murim, at the head of the leader of the Association of the Northern Blade of the Dug Hentinen, attacked the Syndicate of the Demonic Path, located in the suburbs of Hangzhou. But instead of winning, they suffered serious losses at the hands of the Syndicate of the Demonic Path, which was completely ready for their attack. The guy knew that the forces of the Alliance Murim exceeded the forces of the Syndicate of the Demonic Path many times, and did not understand how this happened. Instead of the battle, the forehead in the forehead, the Syndicate of the Demonic Path resorted to the tactics go and run away. On the other hand, the Alliance Murim must remain noble, because minute carelessness can cost a whole life. The guy thinks the Syndicate not despicable, but rather worthy of praise, because avoiding a direct attack was a very wise solution. The man says all the main forces of the Syndicate of the Demonic Path hid underground and continued to fight, using the secret branches that they hid everywhere. So the damage caused by Murim's alliance was very significant. And although these are just rumors, everything happened because the Syndicate of the Demonic Path invited the descendant of the Jij clan from the Orthodox sects as his advisor. The second man tells his comrade more thoroughly to think what he is talking about. The man asks Yunwen to forget his words. This is all that they know, and the guys regret that they can't help anything else. Yunwen says it was enough and thanks them for the information. The guys thinks what warrior Wen Yun cool. The young man did not expect such stability from the Syndicate of such stamina, and even more so the confrontation of Murim's alliance. He is interested in who it could be, a member of the Orthodox sect, a descendant of the Zhuge family, an advisor, because of which this incident occurred. He asks for his subordinates preparing for departure, because they have where to go. Although Yunwan had a way to contact the Gemini Noah, he usually used a Golden Frog cash bench. Being the best cash store on the Central Plains, the Golden Frog store was the largest in scale and had branches in all corners of the country. Zhang Yunxin, a branch manager in Hangzhou, arises and does not understand who is looking for him. If this person is going to waste time, he will personally teach him a lesson. Yunwen and his team are in the store. The manager does not understand that with these teenagers, because they look without a penny in their pocket. He does not understand who Yunwen is, such as to ask for a personal meeting. The young man shows him his token of the emperor. The man realized his mistake, and his facial expression was replaced. He welcomes the respected guest. In the VIP of the reception store, the Golden Frog Zhang Yunsen pours tea to the guys. He asks for forgiveness for his rudeness, saying that yesterday something bad was breaking out. The guy asks him not to worry about it because he arrived to find out where the Knox brothers are, although the twins are elusive to contact them at any time. In this case, Yunwen asks to convey that they come to Hangzhou. The manager asks if the guys have decided where to stop. The guy replies that they have not yet decided. The man asks him to lead them to the inner hall of the best pavilion Zhang. Moreover, he is also ready to repent of his rudeness. Yunwan thinks this place too expensive. The manager asks him not to joke. The guy asks how much money he can spend with the help of this token. Zhang Yunsen replies that he can spend an unlimited amount of money since he is the actual owner of a Golden Frog cash store. His whole team, including himself, were very surprised by this. This is unlimited. This huge capital. Yunwan thinks the twins Knox or Amazing Times have such a store. Thanks to them, he will have no problems with money on the Central Plains. Hangzhou was a more attractive city at night than during the day. People walked and had fun. Since there was nothing to do until the twins arrived, Yunwen and his company decided to take a short walk and look around in the city. The store manager sent a man to accompany the guys this evening to Hangzhou. Yunwen is glad to hear this and asks to take care of them. The man shows where to go. Everyone has already decided to rejoice, but Yunwen quickly dispelled their fun and tells them, using a sound program, that today they will not be able to simply inspect the sights. He tells them to train to fit into the Central Plains, and once again he asks them to behave with restraint and not to arrange riots. Yunwen and Zuiguan are standing and looking at the fireworks. Yunwan asks the demon's lord what he thinks about and whether he is bored. Zuiguan is not bored. Each time the splendor of this place every time makes him choke. Yunwen thought he had enough experience in such matters. The man speaks for all his 137 years of life. He first encounters something similar since he was focused on martial arts. The guy is surprised by the age of Zuiguan and considers him old. In any case, Yunwan intends to keep his promise, and the Lord of the Demons will not regret that he went after the young man from the heavenly demonic storage. The Lord of the Demons thanks him and accidentally encounters his shoulder with passers-by. Zuiguan calmly apologizes to the passers-by. The man, in response, only identifies and insults him. Yunwen prays that the Lord of the Demons does not arrange a membrane. A passerby says his shoulder dislocated, and if Zuiguan continues to hold his mouth on the castle, this does not solve the problem. The Lord of the Demon grabs his shoulder. The man asks him what he was doing. Zuiguan seems to be a man's shoulder. A passerby does not understand what the Master of Demons is doing, and threatens him that he could not get rid of with simple apologies. He asks what he should do then to make a man forgive him. A passerby discuss the conflict and think a fight will now begin. The man tells him to crawl if Zuiguan crawls between his legs. Then he will forgive him. Yunwan is worried that Zuiguan does nothing rash. However, the Lord of the Demons simply fulfills the request of the passerby and crawls between his legs. The man does not understand why Zuiguan, not arguing, just did how he told him. The rest of the people watching the conflict are also surprised. Yunwan realized that the Lord of the Demons went so far only because of his words. Zuiguan asks if this is enough. The passerby thought to humiliate him even more, but he thinks on this so enough. The Lord of the Demons again asking for. Zuiguan thinks this enough. Spectators also think that a bald man must restrain his word, because Zuiguan did nothing like that. Yunwen tells him to leave this in the past and disperse with the world, because this is a good day, and you should not spoil it. The man in response pushes the young man, and does not understand who he is to indicate him. The Lord of the Demons grabs his head and imprints in the ground. Zavaki is shocked by this. If this is the order of his master to crawl between his legs, he will do it calmly without hesitation. However, he will never tolerate that some bastard touch his lord with his dirty hand. All people scatter from him and are afraid because he had just killed a man. Yunwen asked him to be careful, but Zuiguan says he could not endure such an attitude to his master. A man accompanying them along with the rest of the team runs to Yunwan. He is angry because they will now have to clean up after them. The guy apologizes to him for getting into a fight and asks if it will be difficult to settle everything here. The accompanying person says this is not a problem, but the Yunwan team will also be difficult to leave the Central Plains intact. The young man is thinking by a person whom they killed quite important, and wants to know the details. He says this man is not just a small bug, but behind him there is a syndicate of the demonic path. Yunwan did not expect this, and perhaps he must thank the demon lord for this. To avoid the revenge of the syndicate of the demonic path, they must do something, but they do not know what to do. The young man thinks to eat some way and says, if the accompanying person will do what he will say, then he will be able to avoid trouble. The next day, the announcements were hung all over Hangzhou. It was written about the case last night, and it indicated that if someone has a favor or resentment, everyone who wants to settle them can come to Ven Yun in Pavilion Jianani. People think he says it with sarcasm, and this is some kind of joke. Baigun Xiaocun asks the master to teach her today. He does not understand what she talks about. The girl reminds him of his promise to teach her fencing. The Lord of the Demons supports this idea, saying that Yunwan also did not stop breathing in fresh air, and they will protect the pavilion. He did nothing for all the time to be considered her master, and asks whether she is ready to study. The girl shines. He is going to be the most hard-working student in the world. In this case, he agrees and says that he will return soon. Yunwan reports Joy Guan that they will have guests soon. The demon lord thinks this syndicate of the demonic path. The guy confirms this and asks not to kill them, but to get information from them. They only need two things, namely their location and method to establish contact. Not far from Hangzhou, the girl is practiced in fencing under the leadership of Yunwan. The guy tells her to be soft as a spring breeze, and it should be lightning speed. She should be focused on the tip of her sword. Her hands with a sword are shaking. Yunwan thinks to her unusual, because this is a new sword, and soon she will get used to him. He offers her to rest. The girl eagerly drinks water. The guy asks how she feels when she practices the initial movements of 3 heavenly demonic swords, but she is not yet sure. When she reaches great heights, the girl will enter the state of the Sword of Reason, even if it is difficult for her to tell her never to give up and always go forward to her goal. The girl reminds that he has not taught her anything yet. The guy knows this, but he had a little time and he will try more. She rested enough and is ready to train again. Yunwan asks the heavenly demon why he became so grumbling. The demon does not understand why the guy smiles at his student, because he had not yet won the world to focus on the students. The young man does not understand what suddenly happened to him. The demon screams. He does not like it. He does not like the decision of the guy to leave the syndicate of the demonic path. Yunwan replies that this is not some kind of childhood fight, and he knows if you do it, then he will have to resist the whole Murim. The demon says he can fight everyone. Huainan supports the young man. He also thinks that there is no need for unnecessary murders. The guy asks the demon not to worry, because it is only the beginning of his journey as a heavenly destroyer. The heavenly demon thinks the guy knows how to speak well. Yunwan heard something. It seems Zhu Guan fulfilled his mission. Yunwan returned to the pavilion. Representatives of the demonic sect are lying dead, and the guy asked Zhu Guan to leave them alive. Zhui Guan left one alive for interrogation. He breathes, but the guy does not know if this person can be considered alive. Zhui Guan tells him to tell everything to his master, what he told him earlier, namely about the location of the sect and the method of communication. Suddenly, the hostage with the help of Kuna breaks the rope and jumps up from the chair. He was waiting for their leader to come to kill him. Baigun Xiaochun is dealing with him using the reception 3-time blades of the heavenly demon. She will not kill him because it is Yunwan's order. The girl does not think that the man trained enough to fight with their master. He is very surprised, because those who were here had strong skills, but this girl seems to have not reached another 12 years, but already so strong. Yunwan thanks the girl for a good job and approaches their hostage. The guy now says the man's turn to answer questions. Perhaps the shock from the defeat to the young girl from one blow was too large that the killer from the syndicate of the demonic path obediently answered his questions. As a result, the Heavenly Destroyer received quite a bit of information about the syndicate of the demonic path. It had 8 leading forces performing the mission of the group, and they were called 8 factions of the demonic path. And also there was a unit of the Killing Sword, which was under the immediate leadership of the headquarters of the apartment of the syndicate of the demonic path. And they came to kill Yunwan and his team on the orders of the leader of this unit. The guy is interested in how they are connected. The man says the deceased man was the cousin of the commander of their detachment. The young man asks him to take him to their commander, in order to apologize to him personally. The captive in shock, he thinks the commander already knows that they failed, and sent members of the group here to restore order, so that this is nothing different from suicide. The heavenly demon notes that they are coming here. There is no longer any need to go towards them, given their direction and speed, Yunwan thinks here. The guy intends to believe what the Lord of the Demons says, and if something does not work out, Zhui Guan will be responsible. The man asks to believe him and assures the young man in success. The rest of the guys discuss this. Yunwan and Zhu Guan talked about this 2 days earlier. 2 days ago, on the night of the dispute, the Lord of the Demons believes the young man needs a strong appearance. Yunwan thinks a man wants to say that his face looks miserable. Zhui Guan confirms this. He thinks instead of saying that the young man looks weak, he looks beautiful. The guy thinks only useless boobs chase an appearance or false names. Zhui Guan and the rest are well aware of his strength. However, Weekly from the Central Plains can draw erroneous conclusions, looking only at the appearance. He offers just to wear a mask to Yunwan when necessary. Yunwan tells the man lucky that he is a member of the detachment of the Killer Sword, because he will be the first to see Yunwan's second face, which he used with the help of the art of transformation. The prisoner looks stunned by this. The guy tells him to go and tell his commander that the scribe of a heavenly demon arrived, a heavenly destroyer. The crowd on the street does not understand what is happening in the best pavilion Jiang'an. They think the pavilion is temporarily closed, because the lights are turned off in it. The man answers them that in connection with some circumstances, their pavilion is temporarily closed today. This is for the first time. Never from the people could have thought that the best pavilion, Jiang'an, was closed. Under the knife, this man is said to continue in the same spirit. The Syndicate of the Demonic Path was taken hostage by staff. Yunwan says they are here, then let them stop sneaking and come in. The man glances at the gap of the door. The hostage of the Heavenly Destroyer was frightened. Judging by his reaction, the guy thinks this bastard commander of the Ka Jinshin detachment. The commander orders the man to commit suicide, because all his comrades are dead. The man is trembling, but intends to execute the order. Yunwan interferes with him and asks the commander how he dares to kill his captive at his command. Ha Jinshin notices the guy's courage and asks him if he knows where he is. The guy says this is the best pavilion in Janani, and an expensive cozy institution. The commander exposes his blade and tells him to be a member of the Murim alliance or a simple wanderer, he will die today. Yunwan replies that he will not die today, but the commander. They both intend to kill each other with one blow, cleaving the blade of Hazinchun with one blow. This is the name of the elder, who intends to cut down the head of Yunwan. And the commander attacked the guy with his blade. The guy thinks in comparison with the nickname of a man in his blow with a sword, there is nothing worthy of attention. The young man beat off his attack easily. The man is surprised that he was able to lose the sensitivity of just one blow. He does not understand why Yunwan does not expose his sword. The guy replies that he is not sure. He thinks he will not be able to fight with a sword without killing the commander. These are not the words that could be ignored, but it was one of the reasons why Hazinchun was able to rise to the post of commander, thanks to his insight. After this skirmish, the man realized the power of his opponent, although he did not understand what it was. Until he finds out what was the matter, he decides to observe a little. The prisoner Yunwan asks his commander to stop, because the young man's scribbler of the heavenly demon, the heavenly destroyer. The commander thinks his subordinate does not lie. According to rumors, the heavenly destroyer killed all members of the detachment of the murderous sword, and their skirmish also proves that he did not bluff. The heavenly destroyer with whom their headquarters so desperately wanted to meet directly in front of him and Hazinchun considers this to be extraterrestrial success. The headquarters of the Syndicate of the Demonic Path sent experts to all directions of the world in order to recruit a heavenly destroyer, but his whereabouts still remained unknown. The commander realized that this was his chance to increase his status if he became a guide between the Syndicate of the Demonic Path and the heavenly destroyer. Ha Jinggun suddenly became humble and asked the guy whether he was really a heavenly destroyer. The young man does not understand why he became so obedient. Jueguan thinks this because of the guy's changed face. Yunwan thinks the man was right. But in fact, the reason was not that. The commander wants Nova will be officially introduced. His name is Ka Jinchun. He heads a unit of murderous swords, directly subordinate to the Syndicate of the Demonic Path and Glads. He will meet a young man. The guy thinks since the commander just wanted to kill him, but now it is so kind with him that means this merit of his appearance. The commander does not understand him, but no matter how the Syndicate of the Demonic Path has been inquiries to the guy for a long time, and if he goes with them, then Ha Jinchun will take care of him. Yunwan does not need to go to the headquarters himself, so he asks to simply convey the words to their chapter. The guy on whose side in Murima can no longer put up with the atrocities of the Association of the Northern Blade. Therefore, as a person who has a common enemy, the guy would like to personally meet with the head of the Syndicate and discuss everything. The commander is interested in if Yunwan is not going to go to the headquarters, then where would he like to be fastened? The young man makes an appointment 10 days later in the Neutrality Pavilion in Kaifeng. Ka Jinchun does not understand why exactly there, because there is the headquarters of the Alliance Murim. The guy does this because he has people whom he can trust in Kaifeng. The commander is worried that something may go wrong. Yunwen assures that if something goes wrong, he will personally protect their Grand Master. The man is surprised, because the young man talks about it as a simple fight. He promises to convey the message to the leader of the Syndicate of the Demonic Path. And so the commotion with a unit of murderous swords ended. 2 days later, Yunwen asks Xiao Qin not to run around the pavilion. Yunwen notes the discontent of the owner of the pavilion, and asks him what was the matter. He thinks this because of the case with the Syndicate of the Demonic Path. Mr. Bao has recently been speaking, the number of customers has significantly reduced. After that incident with the Syndicate of the Demonic Path, the members of the Alliance Murim continued to follow the pavilion and snoop guests. Because of this, the visitors began to leave massively. The guy cries and does not understand how they dared. He wants to deal with them right now. Thanks to the store, the Golden Toad, the Heavenly Destroyer went to the branch of the Alliance Murim in Hanzhou. The store manager speaks after the alliance of the Alliance Murim. The surrounding merchants were badly injured. Since the Alliance continues to expand their territory using force, merchants are afraid that all local trading areas will be captured at this pace. Yunwen is outraged due to the incident with the pavilion, so the Murim's alliance also affects the trade world. The man says they collaborate with the merchants who listen to them. Those who are against are forced to obey, so there are no people who confront them. The guy does not understand how many more enemies the Alliance is going to make himself. At the store, the Gold Toad is all right because they are counting on the support of the imperial family and government ministers. They arrived in the branch of the Murim Alliance in Hanzhou. Yunwen thinks they put all their strength to its creation. The guards ask who he is and whether the guy is recorded. He screams to the manager of the Hangzhou branch to go out. The guard asks who he imagines himself to arrange scenes here. Yunwen tells him to disappear. The manager of the branch comes out and asks who dared to arrange a commotion in the middle of the White Day. Yunwen recognizes him. This is provided by Wu Henchang. He does not understand who dares to treat the manager like that. Suddenly his expression changes. It seems he recognized Yunwen. The guy was not sure at first, but now he really realized that this was a former commander of a mandate detachment and points a finger at him. The manager thinks what sin he committed, that he again had a chance to meet this devil. The guy says they did not see each other for a long time. The guard is surprised that they are familiar. In the hall for receiving a branch of the Murim Alliance in Hangzhou, Yunwan and warrior Wu spit tea. The young man says Wu looks much better than before. He thinks because Wu now has become the manager of the branch. Yunwen puts his bowl of tea and is about to get down to business. The young man stopped better at Pavilion Jiang, and suspicious people constantly roam around him. The man does not understand which bastards dared to wander next to the place where the guy stopped. Wu thinks children in our time are fearless. The young man suspects that this is the work of the manager. He looks scared and says that it is not him. Wu jumps up from the table. The man says he needs to the toilet. Yunwan laughs that Wu is running pretty quickly. A man could not think that the young man was associated with the best Pavilion Jiang. A little earlier, VU gave the order to monitor the whole pavilion, as well as to study everyone, a client who entered the pavilion. He bursts to one of his subordinates and tells him to immediately go to the best Pavilion Jiang and tells him to pick up all their people from there. The manager of the branch of the Alliance returned to Yunwan. He says there should be problems with his breakfast. The guy says if Wu has problems, then of course he will have a disorder of the stomach and tells him to play it safe. Wu does not understand what the young man has. The man looks excited. Yunwen says if the territory around the pavilion in Jianan will be free, then there will be no problems, and asks Wu will take care of this. The man realized that the guy recognized everything. Wu says to anyone would not allow anyone to approach this place. We can say that the problem is solved and the guy is interested in how things are now in Murim. He asks because he only recently returned from the trip, and he is interested in knowing about the latest events. This is a great opportunity for Yunwan to get information about the Association of the Northern Blade. The man says the very last event is likely the operation to destroy the Syndicate of the Demonic Path. The story that Wu Henchun told was not much different from the rumors throughout Hangzhou. Nevertheless, Yunwen noted for himself a new information. The reason on which the Demonic Path settled in Murima was their foundation, which goes out of roots in the trade world. So in order to chop the roots of the Syndicate of the Alliance, Murim is trying to seize the commercial world. And they say that the conflict exists even in the Murim Alliance itself. They say that the alliance of 9 Orthodox clans and the League of 5 clans are fighting on all issues with the Ark Hentitian. However, in addition to them, all the forces are under the command of the leader of the alliance. So as the leader of the alliance himself said, this will be a minor problem. Yunwan does not think so. He does not understand whether the leader of the alliance really does not know the seriousness of the situation. He takes to memories of childhood. His grandfather asks the boy whether he knows that he can destroy a huge dam. Yunwan thinks something like a landslide for it. The old man says the boy is mistaken. He does not understand why. Grandfather is sure that a huge dam can collapse only from one rat. The boy does not think that one rat can lead to the destruction of the dam. Over time, Nora, which the rat dug to the construction of her nest, will turn into a large crack. Because of this small rat hole, the size of the dam is unimportant, because sooner or later it will collapse. The great empire is no different from this. The more insignificant the risk seems, the more you need to pay attention. There is a limit of how much enemies can be ignored, and Yunwan is interested in what Hentang will do. Wu asked Yunwan when he was going to join the alliance of Murim. The young man looks bewildered. It is already getting dark, and the guy leaves the branch. The manager of Wu will pass the words of the guy, the leader of the alliance. Yunwan still answered the man. He was going to go to the alliance a few days later. Wu says the guy's power will come in handy for the alliance Murim. Although the young man managed to dismiss, he will probably soon have to meet with the alliance of Murim. But it's still good that he visited the branch. It seems Murim's alliance is not as strong as he speaks of himself. This information will be useful in the future. The guy returned to the pavilion and told everything to the owner. The man thanks him for being able to rest. Huanggu, using a sound program, wants to say something. Yunwen does not understand what is the matter and why he uses this art now. The guest visited them. The Heavenly Destroyer did not feel anything special. He also talks with Mr. Bao during the sound transmission. The monarch without a shadow asked the guy to be careful, because this man, having entered, said that he was his guest. He came from the headquarters of the Syndicate of the Demonic Path. The young man asks Mr. Bao not to disturb him, because he had a difficult day. He wants to relax. The leader of the Syndicate should be in a hurry because he came to the pavilion without waiting for their meeting. He says the young man of rights just 10 days is too long to sit back. Yunwen in his voice thinks that this is a woman. He does not understand how Jueguan let her into this place so easily. The man says she was very polite. The guy is angry and reprimands his subordinate. Jueguan apologizes. Yunwen heard about how the Syndicate of the Demonic Path copes well with Murim's alliance. Despite the fact that they were driven into a corner, he was glad to hear this news. The leader of the Syndicate says the young man of rights in only one. They really were able to crush those bastards from the Murim alliance, but he is mistaken, considering the girl a leader. The young man did not understand, because he wanted to talk to the leader. After confirmation, her personality Yunwan will probably change his opinion. He is stunned by the confusion. The girl's name is Zhuge Chaohong. She is an advisor to the Syndicate of the Demonic Path, and has a quite attractive appearance. Yunwan has recently been saying the name of the girl throughout Murim. For him, there really is a surprise to meet her personally. Zhuge says she herself should be surprised, given how bloody the guy has a story. She thought he looked more angrily. The girl considers him quite pretty. Beggar calls her the older sister and says what a cool master. Yunwan is surprised at this situation. He does not like that his subordinate did not tell him anything. He interrupts the discussion, saying that it is too noisy and the conversation should be held in another place. They must discuss this alone without their subordinates. Jueguan grabs Xiaoqian by the scruff and leads her off the room. The warrior from the shadow tells her to stop behaving like a child. The girl wanted to stay with the master and older sister. Zhuge and Yunwen are sitting at the table against each other. Xiaoqun should be worried about the girl, but the guy is also interested in hearing the story that the girl wanted to tell. Zhuge says Xiaoqun asked who is the strongest of Murim's promising talents. Yunwan thinks it just likes her, and asks what Zhuge answered her. The girl told her about 2 people. One of them is a star of the demonic path of the Heavenly Destroyer. Another star of the Orthodox Path's Jade Divine Dragon Wenyun. The guy is surprised, because these are his 2 personalities. Zhuge thinks, judging by the face of the young man, he heard about the Jade Divine Dragon. He answers her that he had heard something from rumors. In general, people in Murim began to call the leader of the alliance of the Great Master, the Taoist Master of the Udanjiang Sanya Feng, and these 2 people of Murima. Yunwen first hears Murim's 5 heavens. The girl says this, obviously, because they began to call them so recently. Nevertheless, only the Heavenly Destroyer and the Jade Divine Dragon are interested in people. The guy does not understand why this is so, because in the 5 heavens of Murim there are 5 people, and are only interested in these 2. Zhuge says it will quite logically focus on the new talents that suddenly appeared. People are interested in who is stronger than the Heavenly Destroyer or a Jade Divine Dragon. Yunwen thinks how troublesome is due to the fact that there are 2 such personalities in it. He only masked his personality in order to act depending on the situation. And Murim was confused after Wen Yun and the Heavenly Destroyer gained recognition as individuals. The heavenly demon asks the young man why he has such an alarmed look. The demon says these two personalities can become his weapon. The guy can change the crisis to the opportunity. Huinen says the heavenly demon again conceived something sinister. The demon says that he is not talking to him. The monk and the demon quarrel among themselves. The monk asks the heavenly demon to beat him someday with a wooden stick. And Yunwen considers the demon is right, if he will use it well. Zhugai tells the guy that she can tell him her story, since he has nothing more to ask. The young man agrees with her. She goes right away to the matter. The Syndicate of the Demonic Path needs the power of the Heavenly Destroyer. Yunwen knew that the girl would say something like that, and asks her why the Syndicate of the Demonic Path would not solve all the problems with the help of her resourcefulness. Zhug says no matter what her abilities with the power of the Alliance Murim cannot cope with one person. Thinking about this from this point of view, he also becomes a person in his opinion. The girl says this is not true. She thinks not a person sits in front of her but a star. The young man thinks this joke is completely tasteless. And Zhuge, on the contrary, was struck by his own game of words. She thinks the guy liked this. He flatters her, saying that she has a talent to laugh people, and the guy is interested in what they will do if he refuses. The girl will not be able to do anything if he refuses. However, if a rumor spreads that the Heavenly Destroyer is here, then the Alliance Murim will do everything possible to attack him. Yunwan thinks they will let a hearing if he does not cooperate with them. The girl says it depends on what he thinks. However, in any case, the Orthodox path will suffer heavy losses, regardless of who he will fight with. And if it is beneficial to their syndicate, then Zhuge will do anything. The guy thought she was tender, but it turns out she is a rather terrible woman. He understands why Murim's alliance is experiencing such difficulties with her. And yet the young man is one who holds the handle of the sword. He does not know whether he should accept the offer or not. He asks whether the syndicate will fulfill any of its conditions. The girl asks first to tell her about these conditions. He has only 2 conditions. Firstly, no one can command them or constrain his actions. And secondly, he asks him to give him the authority to command the Syndicate of the Demonic Path whenever he asks for it. Zhuge thinks, despite the fact that there are only 2 conditions, it sounds as if he wants to become a great master. Yunwen tells her not to complicate. He wants to become a great master of the demonic path. He is interested in what she is going to do. The girl agrees, but she has a response service. The guy thinks to ask him for a favor. It's shamelessly. Zhuge knows this. Even if she had to kneel, she would like to borrow the power of the Heavenly Destroyer. Yunwan is surprised and asks if she will do everything for the good of the Syndicate of the Demonic Path, to which she says yes. The guy says, given what despair they are ready to listen to the girl, the current Syndicate of the Demonic Path collapses from the inside. The Council of Elders, who controls the power of the Syndicate, jeeper of the authority of the Great Master. Yunwan thinks the Master could just eliminate them. It would be great, but now there is a war with the Alliance of Murim, and if Zhuge, or a detachment subordinate to the Grand Master, will take up the solution of internal problems, then their syndicate will be caused severe damage, and he will break up. The guy is surprised that not only the Alliance Murim has, but the Syndicate of the Demonic Path has problems inside. Yunwan realized that even if he takes the Syndicate under his control, he could not dispose of him. The girl says this true, however, if Yunwan removes all the rot from the Syndicate of the Demonic Path and reforms it, then everything would be different. The guy asks her, can he consider the Syndicate of the Demonic Path to his own after he does it? Zhuge tells him to act as he will consider fit. She celebrates him with the great young master of the Demonic Path. Yunwan asks her what kind of position this is, a great young master of the Demonic Path. The girl asks for calmly with her, the place of the young man next to the Great Master. Even he cannot give the guy orders, and the young man has the full right to check and punish all the students of their syndicate. The guy is surprised because he is not a great master, and his position is equivalent to this. He knows that Zhuge is not a master and doubts that she can make such a decision. She cannot tell him everything in detail, but asks the young man does not worry about it. Yunwan asks her whether this means that they will not tell him everything. He thinks this somehow connected with their plan. The young man says, if this is what she wants, then he is ready to be part of this plan. The guy asks to say where their Ho is, and he will be there in a few days. He gathered his detachment and asks everything here. The guys are holding him. Xiaocun asks Huanja what the master will tell them. The guy tells her to just listen to the words of the master, and she will know everything. The girl tells the warrior from the shadows not to be so cold in relation to the girl. Yunwen watches their quarrel. The guy asks Juiquan to figure it out. The man tells newcomers to shut up because their master will now begin speech. Now that he offers everything in the assembly to go right to business. He told the members of the heavenly demonic cult everything he knew himself, as well as what he recently recognized. Yunwen told them about the Jade Divine Dragon, and revealed his personality and significance of his pseudonyms in Murim, as well as the story of the Syndicate of the Demonic Path. As a result, his team will also have to change depending on how Yunwan's position and status changes, but there can be no mistake. Zhuiguan guesses that they will also have to use the Art of Transfiguration. The guy says that Zhuiguang, Huanggu, and Uyan will use the Art of Transfiguration, and since Xiaoqin cannot use it because of his weak qi, it will only accompany it when Yunwen is in the guise of a heavenly destroyer. And when he is a Jade Divine Dragon, let him pretend to not know him. The girl does not understand how to do it. Especially many people already saw how she accompanied him in Hangzhou. Yunwen says they have not been on the Central Plains for so long, so everything is in order. He simply asks to be their care from this moment. He asks her not to be upset and simply not be with him when he is in the appearance of a Jade Divine Dragon. And as always, they should not act recklessly without his order. The guy indicates Zhuiguan to be especially stupid, because his skills are very different from others. The man is surprised. Yunwen does not scold him, but simply asks him to be more careful because he is very strong. Zhuiguan seems to be embarrassed by the praise of his master. He asks the guys whether they know any martial arts of the orthodox sects that you can use. Huanggu knows them, but Ushan has not tried it yet. He asks Uyan to try to detect the martial arts of orthodox sects based on her specialization, a quick sword. The girl is also glad to praise. She did not think that the Heavenly Destroyer would remember her specialization. From now on, he prohibits the use of demonic martial arts without his order while they are on the Central Plains. Yunwen considers her definitely not an ordinary woman and thinks the beast lurked in her heart. Zhuiguan asks his master what he means. She told him that their syndicate is located under the Lake of Donging. The girl assures the guy that he would not regret his decision. The guy thinks their location they chose, knowing that a fight with the alliance of Murim would begin, and this is their strategy. When the orthodox sects became stronger, they always tried to suppress the demonic path. Zhuge was simply preparing for the future, thinking about the past, so she does not think that this could be called a strategy. Yunwen says she is incredible, and he heard that she was a descendant of the prestigious Zhuge family, and asks why she wants to turn off the orthodox path. She says there is a person whom she wants to kill, and at present he is the leader of the orthodox path. The guy realized that she was talking about Henten's arc. Zhuiguan is surprised, because the name of the arc Henten is too often flashes. Yunwen says the leader of the alliance Murim, truly amazing person, and it seems he wants to make his enemies the whole of Murim. The man asks the Heavenly Destroyer who are those people with whom they will meet. Yunwen is tired of listening to this question all the way. He says these people of his benefactors. Zhuiguan simply cannot restrain his curiosity about who these people, whom the master calls him his benefactors. Yunwen tells him too curious. He is interested in how the Gemini Knows are doing. The manager John says that the brothers are already waiting for him in the reception. He enters the room, and Huan No drops his cup of tea with surprise. The guy asks how the old people have business. They rush to him and embrace. The twins say everything is fine with them, seeing that their lords are so energetic. Huan No says the dejected expression on the young man, which he saw on Mount Tai, completely disappeared, and he again found his light. They cry with joy. Huinok does not understand how he can communicate to a guy except His Majesty Emperor. The guy asks them not to cry so much. They make him cry too. The Azure King of the Demons Hunpo also arrived with the Nox brothers and welcomes Yunwen. He was surprised at how great Hunpo became. He is interested in what training the Azure-faced King of the Demons received, and why he was still without clothes. The man survived the time that does not even want to remember, but all thanks to the mercy of Yunwen. Zhuiguang is jealous of Hunpo to his master and does not understand how he dares to speak so Heavenly Destroyer. They collide among their foreheads. Yunwen orders them not to spoil such a beautiful day. Men obey him. The beggar Pang is also welcoming the young man here. The guy asks how he is doing. The old man says he cannot be unhealthy when he spends time with his granddaughter of his sworn friend. Suilin enters the room and asks the guy if he feels good. Suilin tells the guy that he had not returned for so long after he said that he would return soon. Youngwen could not do anything about it, because he here and there fell into trouble. The guy asks the lady how she feels. She replies that thanks to him, the girl lives quite comfortably next to the great leader of the gang of beggars. The old man interrupts them and offers to start talking about what they all gathered here. The girl asks Pang as he could be so insensitive. After that, a meeting began, in which only those to whom Yunwen gave Dabro participated. Pang says the situation in Murim is currently very serious, since Murim's alliance oppresses those who rebel against them under the pretext of destroying the demonic path, and the alliance of 9 Orthodox and the League of 5 clans turned into simple assistants. This is an obvious political scheme. But the young man does not understand how the Alliance of 9 Orthodox and the League of the 5 Clans ricked themselves so quickly under the influence of the Association of the Northern Blade. The old man says Nadezhda is not lost because a new organization has appeared. This is a secret organization created by young promising talents from the Alliance of 9 Orthodox and the League of the 5 Clans. Its goal is to keep the leader of the Alliance and certain forces in UES so that they do not abuse their power and do not show tyranny if the Alliance is alive after victory over a demonic path. The guy is a little stunned, because Henton's Arc is not one of those people who will allow such a secret organization to exist. Pang says the leader of the Alliance not only there is no reason to confront their organization, but also, according to rumors, they received significant support from Henton's Arc. Young masters of the Northern Blade Association also participate in it. The old man asks Yunwan whether he knows how Henton's Arc is dealt with his enemies. The guy says if possible, he will eliminate them. And if they cannot be destroyed, he will try to make them his allies. If the young man was in his place, he would do the same. Pang agrees with him. He says the leader of the Alliance at first could be said to insist on their creation, endowed them with authority and encouraged their activities. He planned to make them the leader of one of his people. But since there are quite a few outstanding people in the organization, they refuse to accept anyone as their leader. His plan failed. The leader of the gang of beggars thinks the Arc Henton now sleeping badly. This story is a solid interest to Yunwan, the independent power in the Alliance of Murim, which is opposed to him. Moreover, the position of leader is currently free. The guy did not expect less from the best gang in the world. No one knows better about the situation in Murim better than a gang of beggars. The Gemini think Pang wants to capture all the attention of their master. The old people have prepared a special detachment for Yunwan. They secretly collect and teach orphans for more than 30 years, and now their number is approaching 1,000. The young man says this quite a lot and is interested in their current level. They say an outstanding expert among them, but one person accumulated 120 years of inner chi. Yunwan praises them, saying that they did an excellent job. He knows that this is definitely little in comparison with the heavenly demonic cult, but there is no doubt that this is a great power. The beggar Pang asks the young man what kind of relationship with Lady Zuilin has. The guy says they just acquaintances. After the young man left her at the King of the Poor, she constantly asked him about Yunwan, so the old man thought for them some special relationship. The guy realized that he should change the subject, and he asks where the woman who was next to Zuilin all the time went. The old man says this HBS disappeared. The guys are already going to disperse, and Yunwan asks them to repeat them again about what he asked them all about. He ordered Hunpo to secretly collect the practitioners of the demonic path, which are not members of the Syndicate of the demonic path, and create an organization, as well as expect further orders. He asked Panga to mobilize all members of the gang of beggars and investigate the actions of forces in the trading world and the movement of forces behind the Great Wall. He ordered the Blizers of Nox to monitor and control the cash flows on the Central Plains through the Golden Toad Bank, and beware of forces trying to close contact with the Imperial Palace. And they must also combine the forces of small and medium-sized merchants and secretly shake the trade world of the Murim Alliance. He offers them to finish the meeting, and we'll see it again next time. After the meeting, the elderly continued to tell each other stories that did not have time. Zhuiguang says Humpio that the next time they meet, they will arrange a real battle. The man agrees with him and does not forget the ugly-faced Zhuiguan. Zuelan wants to say goodbye to Yunwan. She does not know when they will meet again. Yunwan does not know what the girl thinks about him. But since he still has a lot of work, he does not know if he can live up to her expectations. She says because Huan's has not yet returned from her mission, and the only person whom the girl knows in the gang of the poor is the leader of the gang. She must have missed the guy more than usual. The old man says Lan still does not know about the disappearance of Huan's. It would be difficult for her to realize that the person to whom she trusted and who was supposed to be gone. Yunwan is sorry for the girl. He should have taken care of her better. She takes off her necklace and asks the young man to accept him, and she will be satisfied if the guy thinks about her every time she sees this accessory. The guy says for him this is too fashionable accessory to take him. Zuelan replies that everything is in order and this is just her stubbornness. The girl asks does not worry about it. Yunwan is not the point of this, because it is burdening to take things with him, but he will think perfectly if he places the decoration on his hand. The girl kindly agrees with him. The Heavenly Destroyer, leaving his acquaintances, arrived in the Yangtze Channel. The Shadow Warrior asks his leader what their next destination. The guy recalls his conversation with Panga. The old man told him that after his long-standing friend, the Hidden Emperor, disappeared, he could not find any traces that he left the Association of the Northern Blade. Yunwan thinks Pang, meaning that the Arc-Gen never went beyond the borders of the Northern Blade Association. The old man says this is the conclusion of their gang of beggars. Although the fact that the Emperor of Hidden Dragons is still in the association of the Northern Blades was not confirmed, they consider this a true statement. The month of Huans penetrated the organization of the Northern Blade to investigate this matter, and in the end, it went missing. The guy thinks something wrong with the association of the Northern Blade, and they should first look into the association. Pong says, even if a young man does this, he does not think that they should contact the association of the Northern Blade right now. And before that, there is one place that Yunwan should visit. The young man is interested in what place is this place. He is currently transferred. The Shadow Warrior asks his master why he thought so deeply. Yunwan asks the guys whether they have experience in the fight against the blade. Huanju does not understand him. The guy jumps up and tells his team to prepare for the battle with the blade. He jumped directly onto the mast of the ship. The captain tells him to go down immediately. The young man says their next destination coalition of the Southern Blade. Yunwan with his company floats on the ship. The guy asks the boatman what kind of song he sings. The boatman says strangely that the young man does not know the song about the heroes. He asks a man if he can tell him what heroes he sings about. The boatman replies that he is not difficult. 5 Heaven Murim, the head of the Alliance Murim, the Great Master, Zhang Sanfen, as well as the faithful novice of the Heavenly Demon and the Heavenly Jade Dragon. In addition to them, there are 4 ruler. The King of the Sword of the North Sea, the Envoy of the Blue Sea, the head of the worship of false vicious blood, and the Emperor of the Heavenly Palace. The guy remembered that the cult of false vicious blood attacked the sect of the Heavenly Demon, and is also interested in the King of the Sword of the North Sea, the Messenger of the Blue Sea, and the Emperor of the Heavenly Palace. The boatman explains that 7 miracles are the best warriors among 36 units of the alliance of 9 orthodox sects, and the League of 5 clans, 4 dragons, and 2 phoenix are the outstanding beginners of Murim. And the pair of emperors calls 2 great warriors among the 5 heaven of Murim. Yunwan thinks in vain, he asked, thanks the man for the explanation and asks to stop. The guys arrived in Udon, the coast of the Yangtze River near Mount Shansen. Here is the famous pavilion, which has been here for centuries, the Tower of the Yellow Crane. An employee of the institution informs the Yunwan team that they have no free places, and even it is quite difficult to book a place with them. Now he is even more sorry for Xiaochun, who had not yet mastered the transfiguration technique. She had to wait for the rest in the branch of the Golden Frog Non. Juiguan tells his master why they will not go directly to the Union of Southern Blade, and not make stops on the way. The guy says do not use an unnecessary hype, and this time they have no good reason for this. Namgun Hurakrina notices the young man. He says their meeting was destined by fate. Hayomi and Ian also welcome him. Tan Yongwu, Tan with Yang, and Fino Chonhong also find themselves in the pavilion. He is glad to meet with them and asks how they lived since their last meeting. Hukryun asks Yunwan why he does not enjoy the local cuisine. The guy replies that they did not boot the table, and there are no free places. Besides, he is not alone here. The Hukryun looks surprised, and Ian looks in love with Yunwan in love. He notices that Juiguan is an incredibly strong person. He thinks the young Master Wen should be and does not know what people accompany him. The guy offers Yunwan to join them. As the last time, the youth of the League of 5 Clans booked a large table, and Yunwan's satellites can also sit with them. The young man again thanks the guys for courtesy. The Heavenly Demon tells him better he bit his own saliva. People hear their chatter, pay attention to the young man. They notice one of the 5 heavens of Murim, the Heavenly Jade Dragon. Yunwan notes that they are in the spotlight. The guy says the guy, as always, is modest. It is not surprising that so many views are turned on them, because the Jade Dragon sits at the same table with them. However, Kokryun considers it not entirely comfortable to talk. The guy asks the guests of the Tower of the Yellow Crane not to shit their eyes, because they want to spend time in a friendly environment. People reacted to his request with understanding and noticed that he was the heir to the clan Namgun. Yunwan thinks Hukrin has not changed at all and is still polite. After the words of the heir to the clan Namgun, the atmosphere in the tower became more pleasantly. The guys began to ask Yunwan. Hikren was insulting that there were no news from the guy, and he had never visited the League of 5 Clans. It is a pity to the guy that it happened, but he needed to go abroad. Hookney thinks this should be an important occasion. Well, it was just a joke. Ayan asks her brother why joke. Hemi chews and says that the girl again sides the young man. The guy is interested in why Yunwan here, and it seems he has a guess. Yunwan tells Hookryan that you can't hide anything from him, and he really arrived at the coalition of the Southern Blades. In the Union of Southern Blades, a competition will be held, which should collect the talented warriors of Murim up to 40 years. The winner of the competition will be able to marry the adopted daughter of the elder of the Union of the Southern Blades of the Heavenly Royal Jade Phoenix. Yunwan asked Pang why it is as important as the victory over Murim's alliance, and why should he be worried who marries this girl. The old man does not say this at all. They say that the son of the elder, who was supposed to become his heir, went crazy and is now no good. So Henton wanted to sell his daughter to this madman. Pang says that Yunwan has nothing to worry about. He heard it from Lan herself. Of course she did not tell him any details, but the old man seemed strange. Previously, the coalition of the Southern Blades and the association of the Northern Blades treated each other with caution. But the decision on such an important event as the beginning of cooperation through marriage was made very quickly and secretly from everyone. Pang is still trying to find out the details of this event, but in addition to the crazy son, the elder has only an adopted daughter. The one who will marry her will become a son, in law of the elder of the coalition of the Southern Blades. Yunwan thinks there is no suspicion, and this is in the order of things. Strange for the old man are not competitions, and not the reasons for their holding, but his suspicion causes something else. All the orders of the elder were voiced by his adopted daughter, and the elder himself did not even show up in public. Yunwan notes that it looks like a former leader of the Northern Blades that is a sleeping dragon. Pang says this happened with the organization that could withstand the associations of the Northern Blades. Besides, the elder knew the king of the gang of the poor would not have done so, so the old man hoped that Yunwan would go to the coalition of the Southern Blade earlier than the association of the Northern Blade. The guy realized that if everything turned out well, then the Union of the Southern Blades could act on his side in the future, which will lead to the defeat of the Murim alliance. More precisely, this will be a defeat of the Association of Northern Blades. Yunwan thinks Hukran too decided to fight for this right. The guy replies that he was the heir to the Namgun clan, and he is just interested to look at strong warriors. They say that 2 of the 4 dragons showed up for the competition. Moreover, since Yunwan showed up in Murima, it is interesting to see how he will show himself in competitions. The young man says he did not think to participate, but he would marry so much more. Ayan is glad that he arrived here not for the sake of competition, and Hokren does not understand what Yunwan went here then. The guy thinks this even quite well, because he needs an excuse to penetrate the coalition of the Southern Blades for the investigation. But if he simply enters them, then he will be recognized immediately. He will be allocated from the crowd. And if he is in the company of the youth of the League of 5 Clans, then it will not be so bad. Against their background, he will not be very striking. Yunwan says that he arrived here on some cases. Since the last time he visited the Association of the Northern Blade, he decided to visit the coalition of the Southern Blades. A great idea came to his mind and wants to go with the guys.